How you doing? How you living? How you cooling? How you chilling? I am here live, Jovan, joined with me by weekly co-host and friend of the show, Arden Hart. Everybody say what's up to Arden.
Hey,
Arden's
hey.
here chilling. We're gonna cook some conservatives, cook some transphobatives. We're gonna probably talk about random shit, and then we're gonna have office hours. Office hours is when you can call me, Arden. You could talk to us and ask us questions that aren't like typical debates, right? Arden, how are you doing today?
I'm
I
doing
know the answer because we talked before the live stream, but let's give the air that I haven't asked you yet.
I'm doing great. I am living the high life. I just came back from vacation a few days ago and you know, not much of vacation. It's a family visiting thing. So, how much vacation is that really? But I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm chilling. I spent most of the evening watching the TV show Upload.
Yep,
I don't know if you know Upload. Upload's
not
fucking
much.
great.
I
So if
think
anybody hasn't watched Upload, get on to watching Upload.
what
Muted? Who's muted? Oh, Arden, you were muted that whole time. I forgot to unmute you. Say
oh.
how you're doing again.
I said I'm doing great. I just had a went home for a little family vacation thing for a wedding. So, it's not always all relaxing, but it was pretty good overall. I'm in a good mood. I'm ready to tackle some
I
big
sit
hits.
down with women. I decided to go full queso today.
Okay.
Thought it would sell. I don't know. Before we begin, everybody, I do have a couple of housekeeping things. First and foremost, remember this Sunday is the next episode of the Weekly Dump. My weekly news / discussion / whatever it is show. I don't know what to call it. It's akin to like a daily show or last week tonight or something like that. But just so you know, all of the socials are up for Red Mirror. I'm going to post links in both YouTube chat and Twitch chat. That is a link. Go follow everything on there. So Red Mirror has an Instagram, an X page, a Blue Sky, a TikTok, and a Patreon, and a YouTube. All of that is up, ready to go. The YouTube's not showing on the link tree, though. Let me fix that.
Also, I should post on Insta that we're going live.
Something to note about, guys. Oh, the YouTube should be showing up. Why is it not? Whatever. Something to note about. Oh, there it is. It's there now. Something to know is after the 4th of July weekend, all of the Weekly Dump will be streamed to the Red Mirror YouTube page. It will not be on my pages anymore. It'll be on Red Mirror's pages. Another thing to note is after every live show, there will be a 30 to 45 minute Patreon exclusive live after show. So that may be extra interviews. It may be hints of the podcast stuff. It may be a lot of stuff. So if you want to be a part of that exclusive content, go to Red Mirror's Patreon and sign up. You're also going to get on Red Mirror's Patreon bonus content. So, for instance, Arden was one of the guests on the podcast. The podcast should start that same weekend, by the way. You'll be able to watch Arden's podcast plus bonus content from Arden's podcast that you're not going to get to hear on the main podcast. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, everybody. So Red Mirror, there's the. Let me just post the link tree again. Hold on Twitch. And pin that message. So that's Red Mirror Media's Discord, our link tree, where you'll find all the stuff. Join. Remember, you don't need to if you just like, oh, I just want to watch Jovan's content. You can still watch it here. If you're like, I just want to watch the Weekly Dump, you don't have to support. The Weekly Dump is going to be free every Sunday. I'm just saying there is bonus for those that want to support. Another thing that you are going to see me post here soon is a Google form for it's going to be a mutual aid form. Basically, we're going to have a mutual aid section of the Weekly Dump where I talk about mutual aid and I highlight people who need mutual aid. So I'm going to post that form, probably not today. I'll probably post it tomorrow. And then you guys can fill that out. If you're looking for mutual aid, you might get shouted out on our Sunday show. So that, in case you need help, because part of being a community is mutual aid and helping each other. So keep that in mind. I don't remember I don't think I have any other housekeeping. W Warrior Kristen for the super chat says shout out to Chicago. I agree. You guys also see Arden's pay link. Arden's Venmo is there on screen. If you want to support Arden, feel free to tip Arden for the labor. Remember, debating and talking about this stuff, that's emotional labor. Feel free to tip Arden for the emotional labor. If you do tip me, it does go towards our t-shirt giveaway goal, both on Twitch and on the Red Mirror Instagram is private. Oh, whoops. Oh no, it's public. That was weird. That was weird. So yeah, remember, tipping and super chats go towards the gift goal. And if we hit that goal, I do give away merch. Here's what I'm thinking today. Since Arden is on stream, here's what I'm thinking.
I'm ready.
Any tip to Arden will also go towards the goal. So if you tip me or Arden, you could win merch. And here's what we're gonna do, chat. Because it's an Arden day, so today only, okay? Today only. If we hit 200 on either YouTube or Twitch, you will get your exclusive t-shirt giveaway. 300 sweatshirt.
Oh shit.
400 backpack.
You got a backpack?
Yeah, we have an let me pull it up on stream.
That's sick
I have
as
an
fuck.
abolish police and prisons backpack. It's actually pretty dope.
That's pretty sick.
Where is it? Let me pull it up on stream. Can you see my stream?
Yep, I've got it up here too.
Okay, let me.
I feel like I don't have enough windows for all the things I need to look at. My ADHD is just like crashing out and not letting me pay attention to anything, but it's okay. We're gonna get there, you know? Once we get calls, I'm in.
You could win the abolish police and prisons backpack. Great for
that's
any
pretty
protest
nice.
you may go to. Have you seen the pronoun tees? You might like the pronoun tees.
They're not amateur nouns, they're pronouns. Nice. I like that. That's good.
So if you want to support, there's a couple ways to support. Cash App and Venmo are on screen for me. Arden's Venmo's on screen. You can also super chat on YouTube. Remember, super chats go to the YouTube goal. YouTube has different goals than Twitch, so you could theoretically, because last Monday stream we did 3 giveaways, 2
Damn.
on YouTube, 1 on Twitch.
Nice.
Charging Kaboom. I am deleting that. Jesus Christ, dog. You're so lucky nobody saw that message but me and or mods. Absolutely crazy.
Oh no.
Danger Dave, thanks so much for the super chat. Love the debates. Let's reset t-shirt goal. We'll try. If you want to debate today, the call-in lines are open to talk to me and Arden. We have a full list of topics. That list includes, why do you still support Trump?
Hell yeah.
Just wondering. Trans men and women are men and women, because they are. Gender affirming care for minors. W. Teach LGBTQIA topics in school. Duh. Comprehensive sexual health education K through 12, and pro-choice. My usual board for my usual day. Do you want my brand of communism to describe to you? I'm a council communist, but I have been toying with not anarcho-syndicalism. Or was it anarcho-syndicalism? Yeah, I've been toying with anarcho-syndicalism a little bit. I've been learning a little bit more about that. Let's take a call. Hello, are you here to debate? Guess not.
Nope.
When you try your best, but you don't succeed.
Oh my god.
Oh, I have to put the little blue guy back on screen. Sorry, there's so much I have to put on screen nowadays.
I love your little blue guy. He's great.
Yeah, but y'all are using up so much resources on my PC. I need 4 screens at this point.
Yeah, it's too much. Twitch is a little insane. It's not even just Twitch.
No, I just need to get a streaming PC. Truly. Oh, the little blue guy can't be on YouTube because it blocks Arden on YouTube, so he'll be a Twitch exclusive.
We'll be friends. I'll just sit next to him.
Hello, are you here to debate?
Yeah, I'm here to debate.
Okay, what's your name, age, and pronouns, please?
James.
Sorry, you said Dane?
James. Sorry if you can't hear me. I'm at work right now.
Yeah, let me just turn you up
James.
on my end a little bit. James, what is your age and pronouns, James?
I'm 21 and I'm he, him.
21, he, him. Okay, James, what topic do you disagree with?
Do you have, I didn't see it because it just started, but I know you really disagree with the Bible and stuff like that.
I do, and we do have Arden here. So if you want to talk, if you want to have a religious debate, you know, we could take it there.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, sure, 100%.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of like your guys' topics about the Bible, Christianity, and that stuff, and about how it supports slavery and
True.
racism and stuff like that. And
Double true.
you know, I wouldn't disagree with what you find in the Bible there. I just don't think a lot of people are like following, like they're not going to church and talking about slavery and talking about these type of things. You know, it's mostly about love and
hating gay
like
people,
good morals and things like
and that gay people are going to hell.
Like, I think I agree with you, James, but part of my problem is when they'll claim things like this God is all loving, and then you get churches who do actively persecute gay people and trans people and who promote a lot of bad things. And so when you're talking about this God who's all loving, but he also hates gay people and is willing to send people who aren't convinced a God exists to hell for all eternity for the crime of not being convinced, don't you think that's probably pretty important that we sort out if that's true or not?
God is a hateful God. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm personally atheist. It's just when I hear like you guys kind of talk about it, and I have a mother who goes to church, you know, believes in the Bible and stuff like that. She's never coming out talking about these types of things. You know what I mean? Then I'd say like you guys are like conscripting like kind of like this like bad faith idea on it.
James, my mom got kicked out of church when I was 14 because she let me be trans. Like, this is absolutely shit that's being taught in church.
James, do you agree that legislatures in the United States, in states like Tennessee, Louisiana, Alabama, here in my state, Florida, are quite literally saying, trying to legislate being gay and being LGBTQIA, and they're arguing that because it's in the Bible, these things are inherently immoral?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Okay, well then, that right there, them trying to use the Bible to legislate in a sexual or gender identity, instantly right there tells you why we talk about it.
So then how do we kind of like, I guess like what are the steps to get, you know, Christ out of government? I mean, I guess you would say like communism and stuff like that, but I mean, is capitalism really supporting that? I don't really get it.
I don't think. Sorry. Go ahead, Jovan. You're ready to jump in.
Well, communism is inherently anti-religion to an extent, just because we recognize that that at least organized religion has consistently been used to violate people's civil and human rights. But like, I don't think it's necessary that we have to do away with religion. I do think it's necessary that we do away with the Bible. I think it's like pretty apparent to me that this book that is filled with a litany of contradictions was written by 20 plus people, makes claims about magic that we know are untrue, has done nothing but been used to oppress. I mean, they quite literally used my favorite quote of the Bible, which is your male and female slave shall come from the nations around you. They literally used that in U.S. government to support slavery.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're at a point where the Bible is just sort of like, we've evolved past the need. The whole point of religion is to put answers to questions that science has not yet found. And I think most of the questions we need answered, we have answered. I don't need to know why the universe was created. That's like, who cares? right? Like, what will I do with that information anyway? So I think we just need to sort of move away from the Bible, because not using the Bible tends to work better.
Yeah, I also think, like, even if, like, just respecting the fucking Constitution that we have is a big one. There's a lot of progressive Christians who are actively working with secular organizations right now to talk about defending the wall between religion and government, because that is a thing that our current administration is actively seeking to dismantle. Like, we have systems in place to prevent this sort of thing, and while they haven't really, been respected historically that well, in the last, like, 50 years, there were some really good landmark legal cases that really helped cement that wall and cementing our place as, like, a secular country. I think just respecting that.
Yeah.
I don't like. I don't. I totally agree with Jovan that I want to get rid of the Bible, right? But I don't want to force people to stop touching the Bible. I want to convince them that it's not in their interest, right? And so, like, I respect people's right to look at the Bible and to reference the Bible. I just really want people to acknowledge that this country's constitution is a secular one. As long as we're there, then, like, I feel like the rest of that is not quite so pressing. It's not quite so dire, because their religious beliefs aren't going to be interfering with my ability to live my life.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I can totally see that. Wow. Well, thank you for the conversation.
Yeah, no problem, James.
Thank you very much. All right, you guys
Well,
have a nice day. I'm a massive fan, by the way. Thank you, Jovan.
Yeah, no problem. You have a great rest of your
Have a
day,
good one.
friend. Someone said, kind of bold for Jovan to insinuate the state should force out the Bible. I'm sorry, we shouldn't force out something that's consistently used to harm people. We should just keep that, because why?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, I agree. It does consistently get used pretty much exclusively to harm people. And at the same time, I do feel like I really value free speech. But,
Wait, we're on post call. We're gonna do like a couple minutes of post call every call.
okay.
But yeah, like what? Why should the Bible is the reason why a bunch of women don't have reproductive rights right now? Like, why should I?
Yeah.
The Bible, like, what y'all want to get rid of books in schools? Let me get rid of books in the country. Fuck it.
Yep.
Hey, you can still be religious. You can absolutely still be religious.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody asked what
I wish
animals
there
I
was a
have.
way- I don't have a way
Yeah.
to separate blue guy from. Why am I still recording? I don't have a way to separate blue guy's voice from your. What the hell?
Oh, am I triggering blue guy? That's awesome.
Yeah, because in my microphone settings, it doesn't give me. It gives me my virtual cable output, VB audio virtual cable. So then let me go see what that is pumping to. What's hitting the output in my audio settings? Our God is an awful God. Our God is an awful God.
That was one of my favorite hymns back in the day. I
Our
went
God
to
is an awful
private
God.
Christian school where we had to sing hymns every single day at the start of school. They brought all the kids into one little room from K through 12, and we would all sing hymns together every single day.
I love it. But I
Love
also hate it.
Jesus.
Let's give some shout outs because we got some shout outs to do. Can we get a shout out for Jai Michael in chat? Everybody shout out Jai Michael. Say big W for the Cash App. W to you, Jai Michael, for adding to the tip goal today. And then another double big W to Dan. Shout out to Dan for the Venmo. Said spectacular debates and content. New fan and I've learned so much. Keep it going. Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much. Give big W's to them. And then shout out to Canis Lucas for the super chat over on YouTube. Thank you guys for supporting the stream.
Oh, I got 2 Venmos too from your audience, presumably. Ooh. Dan sent me 20 and Jay sent me 12. Jay, yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
That means we're at 62 already, chat. What? Y'all are gonna get a t-shirt. Oh my god.
Oh my
God. This is
god.
gonna- Oh my God. All right, let's open that call-in line back up. Before we do, just so you know, me and Arden are going to do office hours at 1. At
Hey.
1 p.m., we're doing office hours. So if you're just calling for, hey, I got a question, or I agree, but I just want to know this, save that for office hours. Office hours, 1 p.m. Save it for that. 1 p.m. EST.
Sweet.
Okay? Okay. Call-in line is now open. First come, first serve. Well, that person instantly hung up. So not first person, first serve with that one.
My notes ready.
Y'all are mad that Jovan isn't at a job right now. I'm quite literally at my job right now. This quite y'all will watch Joe Rogan, who does the exact same thing that I do, talks into a microphone, into a camera, and y'all ain't saying, Joe Rogan, where's your job? The fuck? You know where it is. Hello, are you here to debate?
Hello.
Hello, are you here to debate today?
Yes, I am.
All right, can I get your
Sweet.
name, age, pronouns, please?
Sam, 23, him, he, him.
Okay, Sam, what topic on the board did you want to debate today?
Oh, what was the Trump one again? Why do you still support Donald Trump?
Yep. Do you still support Donald Trump?
Oh yeah, I love him.
Okay. Why?
I'm not American personally, and I honestly think Americans deserve the worst. So I feel like Donald Trump is acting in my best interest.
All right, so fuck us, fuck the rest of us.
I mean, yeah, kind of.
what
I
did-
feel
what
like you guys have done some pretty fucked up shit.
Wait, quick question. What did I do to you?
What did you do?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to call you the median American voter, but I feel like the median American
just
voter
real quick,
has
I
a
give
lot to, like,
as well as a lot of people that look like me get fucked over with Donald Trump in charge. So what did we do to deserve your hatred?
I don't hate you personally,
Okay, but you said Americans
but I hate
deserve
Americans
this.
collectively. Yeah.
So what did we do to deserve this? Like, don't get me wrong. I understand that the U.S. government is an imperialist nation that deserves to crumble. What did the people do to deserve getting hurt?
I mean, I feel like they have the opportunity and the chance to change it, but they never do.
What?
So because they haven't changed the U.S. government, because they haven't been able to kick out an imperialist regime, fuck them.
Yeah.
You know, like the system is like completely rigged against the American voters, right? Like all of these people on both parties are so completely corrupt. What would you like us to do?
What would I like you guys to do? I don't know. Not vote for Nazis. Like, not vote for people who want to, like,
Cool.
invade third world countries.
Everyone in U.S. politics is an imperialist. So what would you like us to do?
Well, I guess you guys got to start killing some of them.
Okay, you are not a serious person.
Accelerationism is so stupid. It's just accelerationism. I want somebody terrible to come in so that the system burns to the ground and we can rebuild it. It's dumb. It's going to cause a lot of people harm. It's really stupid.
Yeah, and you can't guarantee that the outcome is gonna be what you want. Like more likely, a far worse outcome is going to arise from like that kind of power vacuum. It's just, I don't know. It just seems so stupid to me on every conceivable level.
Okay, so we had that on stream.
Not serious.
Like, don't get me wrong. I think a lot of people should face the wall, right? I think there's a difference between that and saying, I like Donald Trump because he's going to accelerate everything into disabled people being harmed and queer people being harmed and black people being harmed and brown people being harmed and all these people being harmed. It's just stupid.
Ridiculous.
All right, if somebody wants to debate something not stupid, call in.
I got another 20 on Venmo from Jay. Different Jay.
So did I.
But another Jay. Yeah.
Damn, base. That puts us above our goal.
Thank you.
Or halfway to our goal. Shit. Let me. What? Halfway to our goal. Call line's back open. All right. Hello, are you here to debate?
I'm just here to say that I love your content. Bye.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I don't. It's interesting to me when we specifically carve out a time for people to do that kind of thing, and they're like, "Nope, I'm going to call right now." Okay.
They might not have heard me.
Thank you. Thank you.
But call line is open. Just remember, office hours are at 1. Hello, are you here to debate?
Yes,
All right. What's your name, age, and pronouns?
I'm Chris. I'm 37. I'm a man.
Okay, Chris, 37, man. So I assume you use he, him pronouns?
Yeah, that's a ridiculous question. Of course I do.
Is it? Will there be people watching this stream right now who refer to you in the third person?
What?
Yeah, yes, there will be. So would it be, doesn't it behoove me to ask you for your third person pronouns so they can refer to you correctly?
Everybody knows to call a man a he.
No,
What are you,
some
retarded?
Oh my
some people-
God.
Instant slur because you can't handle a conversation, Chris? Is that what?
No, I can handle a conversation.
Can you?
You can't
Oh,
even
yeah.
handle being asked your pronouns. You have to like have a meltdown over it. It's really embarrassing.
No. You can't figure out the simplest thing, like which pronouns the men use. That's you.
Yeah,
You're the one that can't figure that out. I figured that out when I was like, what, 4?
Here's
When
the
when you start
Here's
talking,
the-
you figure that out?
He's crashing
Yeah,
out already.
yeah.
He's been here for like 3 seconds.
Thanks to crash out. Here's the thing, Chris. The pronoun question is a litmus test that you failed instantly. You knew that you used he, him pronouns, but you said man because you didn't want to answer the question. No shit, we know that men typically use he, him pronouns. It's that you didn't want to answer the question because you think the pronoun question is ridiculous. So we use it as a litmus test. And I hate to tell you this, you failed instantly.
Bro, I passed. Are you kidding? It's a badge of honor. What are you talking
You actually
about?
failed.
What you guys are talking about is so cringe.
Oh,
it's
wow.
like unreal.
Oh
Like,
no,
how are you
cringe.
even
Wow.
real?
What did I do? Chris
Chris,
pronouns man thinks I'm cringe. What will I do?
Well, I'm here to
Oh my
debate.
God.
Are
here
you
to
though?
debate.
Are you though?
Well, you've already proven to us.
Yeah, it sounds
Chris,
like you guys don't want to
Chris,
talk
you
anymore.
have quite literally
it sounds
already
like you
proven to
got
us.
someone who's
Yeah,
actually on the other side of the argument,
Wow.
and now you don't even want to have a discussion.
Great. You've already proven to us that you're bad faith. So we can continue with the conversation, but I know you're going to make bad faith
Oh, no.
arguments.
This is totally not in bad faith. Trust me. Listen to me.
You're absolutely going to
100%.
You're absolutely going to make bad faith arguments.
Don't think that transgenderism is a real thing. I think it's totally made up and imaginary. It's a ridiculous conversation.
Yes, millions of people are lying.
And I want to talk about it. There's nothing bad faith about it. I absolutely 100%
what does being
mean
transgender
everything
mean,
that I'm
Chris?
saying.
Chris, just because you mean what you're saying doesn't mean you're not here in bad faith. What does it mean to
Yes,
be
it does.
transgender?
I don't think you know what bad faith means.
What does it
I don't
mean
think
to
you
be
know,
transgender?
bro?
I don't think you know what bad faith
Come
means.
on. Yes, I'm being completely honest and upfront with you. This is my point of view.
I don't think you know what bad faith means. So
yeah, I want to have an
answer the question. What does it mean to be transgender?
Well, when people are saying a transgender, they're talking about a person that's been convinced that they are.
Okay,
basically, there isn't really a lot of reality.
So you don't know how to define transgender. If I wrote a dictionary and I put transgender, people who are told that they are what they are, would that definition hold up under scrutiny?
That's not what I said.
You said a person that's been convinced they are.
You said a person that believes that they are. So transgender, noun, a person that believes what they are.
I believe that they are transgender.
So you use the word.
So they believe that they're the opposite gender that they actually are. I mean, like I'm a man.
Use the word.
If I was convinced that I was a woman, well, I guess that'd make me transgender, right?
Okay, so it took us what, 30 to 45 seconds to get you to an actual definition. So the way you're defining transgender is a person that thinks they're the opposite gender.
It's really simple, and I think even you know
Yeah, no
maybe
shit.
deep down, maybe
no
you don't want
shit.
to admit it. I think
No
even you
shit.
know it's pretty
No shit.
simple.
Wait, hold on. No shit. I know what being transgender is. I asked you the question, my guy. No shit. I know what it means.
Okay.
So I would argue that your definition is incorrect, or if not, maybe I wouldn't even say incorrect. I'll say it's an unsatisfactory definition. It doesn't actually get to the root of what being transgender is.
I disagree. I would say no person is intrinsically transgender.
I'm not asking you whether people are transgender.
That they are. It's not a real trait a person is born with.
Great, Chris. I didn't ask you if people are transgender. I just asked you to define being transgender, what it means to be this thing that people are claiming.
When you say transgender, the weeds you're talking about a person who thinks they are. That's really
transgender.
I mean, I don't know how it could be any more
transgender
simple.
Noun, a person who thinks they are. That's so damn. Somebody call Oxford.
It's not even a complete thought. Like a person who thinks they are should be preceded by some sort of direct object to indicate what they think they are. But he doesn't even know how to complete a thought. And he's so crashing out that he can't handle somebody talking. And so he has to talk over them. It's so embarrassing.
Transgender, noun, a person who thinks they are transgender. Does that sound like a, does that sound like a circle to you, Arden?
It sounds like a philosophically imperfect circle. It's so circular.
Can we get a definition that's not circular,
well,
Chris?
It's because it's an imaginary thing. You can't point to the transgender part of a person's body. You can't say that's what's transgender about them, or there's the transgenderism. This is totally just a belief set.
Wait, Arden, you do it because I'm not trans.
And the idea is, yeah, okay, I mean, Chris, we all know what it is.
Arden is currently.
If you're saying you're transgender, what you're saying is that
wait, do it again,
you
Arden,
don't think you're actually a man.
Chris,
hello.
Chris, Arden is currently, well, not right now. Okay. Arden is currently pointing to the part of the body where being transgender exists. Currently pointing to it.
The same place all your personality, your likes, your desires, your expectations, all things that you don't physically exist in reality, but, well, they do physically exist. There are neurochemical firings in your brain.
Have you, Chris, do you know what neuroscience is?
Oh, there's some kind of complex chemical thing going on and blah, blah. It's not real. People have
oh, wow. Chris says it's not real. Golly, you've defeated all of the transgender arguments. Chris, you're right. I'm going to resign right now, and I'm going to start advocating against transgenderism. You convinced me with your very compelling arguments. Thank you so much for your help, Chris. Now I see the light.
You're freaking out. You can't even listen.
No one can hear you, Chris, because you're covering your mic with your hand, numbnuts.
Yeah, he's got his mic like deep-throated, so nobody can hear what he's saying.
Directly into a speakerphone, and there's two people that keep interrupting and talking over me.
I promise you, when everybody else who just listened goes back and listens again, we don't hear you because your mic was covered.
Okay, but you also have the ability to cut my mic. I don't know what to tell you. I'm talking.
Oh my God, the tears! Just make a fucking argument and stop crying.
I just want to ask you a question, Chris. Is love real?
All right. Is love real?
Yep.
Yes.
Where's love in the body?
It's I guess it's flowing through your brain and it goes down into your body too. If you were watching the electrical signals moving through a person's body, there's different like signature type of signals. So like love, anger, being hungry, being scared. If you were watching an animal very closely, you could see its nerves reacting and making that specific pattern.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you for explaining feelings and emotions. And now we know that there are things that can
they
be real.
basically are real physical things that exist in physical reality.
There are things that are real that exist in our brains, almost like gender. This is why when we look at transgender compared to cisgender reaction to stimuli, a transgender woman's reaction to stimuli in her brain is going to be more similar to a cisgender woman's reaction to stimuli in her brain, as opposed to a cisgender man's reaction to stimuli in their brain. This is why we know when you experience things like gender euphoria, you see an increase in serotonin levels. This is why we know when you experience something like gender dysphoria, you see an increase in stress. Thank you for validating the trans experience.
What you're saying is not true. Nobody has ever been scanned and shown oh, look, there's transgenderism happening in their brain.
Did I say
That's
there was?
never
So
happened.
that's
this
the
is-
most straw man representation. No, shut up, Chris. Chris, shut up. Chris, shut up. That's the most straw man. That's the most straw man representation. There's actually studies that have shown that when cis and trans men and women watch their face transforming from male to female, that they have reactions in their brain that are similar to the gender they identify with. And there's also brain volume structures in the brain that are more similar to the gender they identify with. So while I don't think anything exists in the brain in the way in which you just framed it, because that is not how brains work, the gender, we do see interactions in the brain with regard to gender in a similar way to that we see reactions to love. Not the way you've described them, because you've described them in a fanciful way that only somebody who knows nothing about the brains or neuroscience would describe them. But absolutely, there is evidence of gender identity existing in the brain, 100%.
Yeah, I had to mute him because he wouldn't shut the fuck
In
up.
their brain. That never
He's still
happened.
talking.
Oh, he talked the entire time.
Still needed the study.
Oh, sure. Let me pull the study up. Like, it's pretty.
What you're
pretty-
talking about is
pretty-
not real.
I'm sorry. So just real quick, if
Wow.
I pull up the study,
Convincing.
hold on. If I pull the study up and the study says what I says it is, you're going to concede that you were wrong.
No, I've been researching this for
Wait.
years.
Hold on.
This isn't something that I just stumbled onto right now.
Chris.
I've been
Did
trying
you
to
just
find
tell me,
all the answers that I can about this. The
Chris,
reason why you're not going to show me a brain scan that shows the transgenderism.
Chris, did you just say?
You need
and I
to hear
quote,
what my
Chris,
side of it is.
Chris, did
Because I
you
already
just say?
know what people like you say.
Chris,
I've heard this argument before.
holy shit, bro!
What?
Please, fuck it. This is why I said you were going to be bad faith. Did you just say that if I provided you a study that does say what I said it says, you still would not concede your point?
Well, when
That
I
is bad faith. That's
say I
bad
wouldn't
faith.
concede to that, what
That's
I
bad
mean is that what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a whole the transgender cult has been around for so long now. You
Wow,
got
that's
all
such
these
a compelling
people
argument.
going
Oh my
through
God.
25-year
The
psychologists,
transgender cult. You nailed it.
graduating with their degrees, they're transgender cultists.
Just say
But they
the
have
word
to
again.
group,
Say the word again,
and
because
that
that's
it
really
just
helping your
gives them
argument.
some kind of levity.
Say that phrase again.
Well,
Some kind
there
of
is no
idea on
argument. You have
people
no.
from like a
You have no argument,
professional
Chris. You have no argument.
position.
You have no argument here.
Oh, I absolutely have an argument. Are
No,
you
you
kidding
don't.
me? You should listen to what I have to say.
No, you literally don't.
You've been sitting here talking nonstop for the last few minutes, and you've said nothing of substance.
Okay. I guess something maybe that would help you understand what's going on with this is, Pavlov's dog. If you're familiar with that, the guy who was feeding the dog, and he would ring a bell,
I don't care about
and
Pavlov.
the dog would salivate when it was getting the food and eating
So
it.
here's the first of the couple of studies that I'm going to bring up that prove Chris wrong.
This is called.
I'm sorry, I'm speaking.
You know
I'm sorry,
Pavlov's dog.
I will have to mute you. I'm speaking now if you don't stop talking. So this study is called Neurosystems for Own Body
What the
Processing.
fuck? You get me on.
I'm sorry.
You say I have
I'm
nothing
sorry.
to say. I say,
I'm
let
sorry.
me make a point.
I'm
You
tell
just
me
talked
something.
for 2 minutes straight, and you said fucking nothing.
Literally.
Nothing.
And we quite literally
Answer my question. Do you know Pavlov's dog?
Are you gonna-
Yes,
Or do you
anyone
not
who
know?
takes a high school freshman level psychology course has heard of Pavlov's fucking dogs.
Okay,
It's irrelevant. Now shut up and let
No,
Jovan make his
okay.
point.
Now, okay, so people's
Oh my
Sexual-
God.
put him on hold.
really.
Chris, I
Yeah.
told you I was going to pull up studies that prove you wrong. I've pulled the studies up. Now I'm going to reference those studies and explain those studies. You can either listen to this or you can go back to living in a worldview where you don't have your like beliefs challenged.
All right, where's the study?
Great, thanks. So this is called Neurosystems for Own Body Processing Aligned with Gender Identity Rather Than Birth Assigned Sex. This was done in 2019. What this study shows us is what happened is they had transgender
Read
and
the study.
cisgender. I am.
Wow.
Chris. It's what I'm currently doing. So they
No, it sounded
can
like you were just going to describe it, but okay.
how else would you like me to go over? You want me to read every single
To
word
read
of
it,
this
yeah.
study?
I'd like you to read something
You
verbatim
want me
out of
to
it. Yeah.
read the entire study, or can I just go over the study and then you can, because I provided you the title of the study, can go read the whole thing yourself? Do you know how research
Yeah,
works?
say it again. I'll Google it right now.
It's right on screen. You can literally just screenshot the screen. So
I don't
again,
have
I'm going to
YouTube
talk
open
now,
because
Chris.
it would
I'm going to
create
talk.
feedback.
I'm going to talk now. Thank you.
I'm on the phone. I'm not looking at YouTube.
I'm going to talk now, Chris. So what they had is they wanted to test the reaction to stimuli. The specific stimuli is going to be the reaction of looking at yourself versus looking at yourself when they change your body. So they had transgender and cis participants view images of their body morph towards being male or female while they were under fMRI. They found that both groups activated similar self-referential and body processing brain regions. So this would have been the medial prefrontal cortex and the visual body areas of the brain in response to bodies that matched their gender identity. So if you're a man, that part of you're male, that part of your body is lighting up. If you're a woman and you're female, that part of your body is lighting up. If you're a trans woman and you're male, but you see a body that aligns with your gender identity, that one is me. So you see a female body, that portion of the brain is lighting up. Then they noted that cis individuals reacted more strongly to bodies matching their assignment at birth, whereas trans individuals activated those exact same regions of the brain more strongly for bodies aligned with their experienced gender. So exactly what I said.
How do I find this study?
Type in the name of it.
It's on the screen.
Say it again.
Neural systems.
No, it's not. I'm looking at the YouTube channel, and I'm not even live on the YouTube channel. I don't know what's going on.
Well, that's a you issue. So that wouldn't be that. No, it isn't. It is on screen. So it's neural systems for own body processing aligned with gender identity rather than birth assigned sex.
Okay.
So I have studies.
Well, I'm definitely going to be reading it. So, okay.
Great. So you concede that we've done brain scans on trans people and have found that their transness activates the same portion of the brain as their cisgender counterparts.
By the way, I think that is an insufficient reason to believe that trans identities exist. I think just like the low dopamine and low serotonin are bad reasons to believe that depression or that psychosis exist. We see examples of people who don't have those brain patterns who express a subjective experience of those same things and who benefit from the exact same treatments. The predictive value of those treatments is not necessarily dependent on those specific neurochemical brain states. It's far more reliable to simply ask the person how they identify, what their experience is. Do they love? Are they hungry? Are they in pain? Are they depressed? It's far more reliable to just ask a person about their internal state than to rely on brain scans. It is a super unreliable, and especially because you can take out massive regions of the brain and your brain can remap most of those functions to different neural pathways. So it's like just a very insufficient. The fact that we're even going here, by the way, is just to please the fact that you brought up neurons and brain patterns. It's not actually relevant to establishing trans identities.
It's also because I'm pedantic. Here's the one that I was specifically talking about at first. It was later in my Google Doc. This is specific cerebral activation due to visual erotic stimuli in male to female transsexuals compared with male and female controls, an fMRI study. And it found exactly what I said it found, which is when looking at sexual stimuli, trans people's brains, specifically male to female transsexuals, because this study was written back when they used those terms. So that would be trans women. Trans women's brains light up more similar to their female counterparts than their male counterparts.
Okay, but here's the problem with that.
Oh, here we go.
Is they're always able to tell them apart. It's never, you're looking at a brain, you can't tell that's a male brain or you can't tell that's a female brain. That absolutely never happens.
You absolutely can't tell a
Also,
male brain from a
let's
female
stop
brain.
and think about, don't you think that there's going to be psychological effects on somebody if they're gaslit into
Pivot as
believing
fuck.
that there's something different?
So
that
some of these
starts
studies
actually
specifically,
reflecting their
so some of these
psychology.
studies
Don't you think
specifically
once
are observing
someone
hormone
is
naive
fully
people.
convinced that they're in the wrong body and that they're supposed to be the wrong gender, and they're having those thoughts, that then reflects when you're looking at their brain scan?
Some of these studies actually, oh my God, you've made your point. Stop talking. Holy shit. You asked the question. You're just talking now to gish gallop. You're not actually here to have an honest discussion.
No way. You ask a question just to keep fucking talking. Anyway,
For real.
someone, real quick, Chris, someone paid to boot you, so fuck off. I'm going to answer Chris's question that he tried to ask us, but W to Katie in the chat, everybody.
Yeah. I also have thoughts to add after, but yeah, I want to hear what you have to say.
Chris mentioned, first of all, Chris could not concede that I brought up studies that disproved him on the brain thing. He then went to, but you can still tell it's a male brain. We've never made a claim that it's, first of all, we've never made claims that like trans women aren't male or that trans men aren't female.
Mhm.
I could, but that hasn't been an argument made at all here. Secondly, you actually, if I just took a male brain and a female brain, like, and put them in jars, you're not telling them apart.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the fuck he thinks of that one. Third, and this is because we have this too. His claim was, well, trans people experience worse mental outcomes if they've transitioned. This is untrue. When we looked at a systemic literature review of studies looking at trans mental health, which I will have on the board again, it found that 80% of individuals reported significant improvement in dysphoria when they underwent gender-affirming treatment. 78% of individuals reported significant improvement in psychological symptoms, and 72% of individuals reported significant improvement in sexual functions. So on every waveform, Chris is stupid.
Yeah. Also, I also have multiple problems. At the end, he was trying to say, don't you think people's brains are going to be different if they're gaslit into thinking that they're cis or that they're trans their whole life? Just to let you know, there is no trans person. Okay, there's probably some trans person who's had supportive parents from the time they're young. Even parents who are largely trans affirming in general will be highly reserved with their own children. This happens all the time. Most people have to actively try to be cis for a very long time before they accept they're trans because it's so hard to wrap your head around. Secondly, a lot of these studies are specifically observing like hormone naive patients, meaning patients who have come out as trans to some capacity but haven't begun treatment, meaning that we're actually specifically observing the identity component, not just effects that could be the result of hormonal influence. So yeah, you're just full of shit and with your head up your own ass, and you think just dropping a word like transgender cult is an argument when it's not, or Pavlov's dogs, irrelevant.
And just a reminder, Arden, if at any point you want me to pull something up on the board, if you just send it to me on Discord,
Okay,
I'll pull anything up on screen you want.
sweet.
But yeah, Chris, I said at the beginning, the pronouns question is a litmus test to test for bad faith people. One of the things that makes someone bad faith is if they just continue to speak, ask you questions, and don't stop talking.
Yeah,
It's a bad faith conversation. They're not there to actually have the conversation. They're there to preach.
it's also super like insecure, like ego move where you're like, I can't let them answer because then they might make me realize how fucking stupid I am, and that would be awful.
Love it. I did see somebody, I don't know if this was in reference to the study I pulled up, but it looked like somebody had said, well, that's just one study, but like systemic reviews are reviews of multiple studies. Meta-analysis would be reviews of multiple studies.
It's funny that you
like,
bring up one study and people say it's just one study. It's like, sure, we weren't going over a literature review in that moment. Like, I don't know what annoying. Okay.
No, yeah, but that's gonna be a good call to highlight.
Wonderful. Thanks for the content, Chris, or whatever your name was.
I just default to putting your name first, even though my name should go first, but A comes before J, so your name has to go first. All right, call in line is going to be open. First come, first serve. I'm here live with Arden. So
Hell yeah.
we are almost to our t-shirt goal, by the way, guys, for Twitch. Hello, are you here to debate?
Yes, I am. How you doing, Jovan?
I'm chilling. Can I just get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Skip 40, he, she, they.
Okay, Skip. Now, Skip, are you here to disagree with the topic or ask questions?
I'm actually just to ask a question, please.
Okay. Do you mind calling back at 1? Me and Arden are doing office hours at 1 for people to call in and ask anything they want.
I apologize. Thank you very much. You guys have a great day.
No worries. We'll hear from you again in about 2 hours, friend.
Thanks, Skip.
Take care.
I should probably drink water, but I'm really into this fruit punch that I have right now.
I should probably drink water, but I've got this fucking American energy drink. Full throttle.
I really like fruit punch sometimes. Hey, just a reminder, chat, I'm going to post the links again. Here's a link again to the Red Mirror Media link tree. Remember that we are going to be live on Red Mirror for the Sunday show every Sunday. Red Mirror, YouTube, and all of that. So please go follow, go join the Red Mirror Patreon if you want access to the Sunday after show. Go get over there, guys. Come on. We got this. All right, let's open the call-in lines again. First come, first serve. Call in if you disagree. Gonna be. Probably should have peed. I know that all 700 of you on YouTube do not agree with us. So y'all better hit that first come, first serve on the call-ins. I don't answer unknown calls, though. So if you're calling from an unknown number, I'm not answering it. Just FYI. I told Nightbot to stop banning or stop muting people for using caps locks, and it just will not listen to me. It just keeps doing it. Nightbot, I'm about to stop using you and go to something else.
It's annoying when people spam cap locks, but yeah.
Oh my God, so true. Hello, are you here to debate?
Yes, sir. What's up?
Chilling. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Name is Tomris, Tomris.
All right, age and pronouns.
Can I just do late 20s to the age? I don't want to give my exact age, but late 20s.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, and then I know you said the pronouns thing is a litmus test, so I don't really like using pronouns, but I'm a dude, so I guess he, him would work in that context.
All right, I just want to point out, this is not, we don't have to talk about it. I just want to point out that in telling me you don't like using pronouns, you did use a pronoun.
Yeah, so I understand what pronouns are. I understand the pronouns predate the transgender issue by quite a bit. I just this whole thing where like it's like pronouns and then like he, him, or they, them, and she, like that's a very recent thing that I don't agree with. So that's why I had to air that out. But that being said, I understand what the context is. So yeah, he, him is fine.
Cool.
So the I think gender affirming care for minors, I think that's pretty much, I guess you could say empirically not a good thing. We could go down that road if you want to.
Empirically, yeah, definitely go down that road.
Anything that, more time?
No, yeah, I was saying, yeah, okay, I definitely want to hear your argument for that. Go down that road.
Yeah, so the last data that I saw, it's approximately 80% of children under the age of 18 who identify as some sort of transgender grow out of it into adulthood.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to cut in already. This is like a famous study.
Real quick, I didn't finish a sentence.
It's, yeah, I know, but you're already citing something that's well known.
Medical intervention for those. Okay, what are you saying? What?
I'm just saying that study is well known and there's massive methodological problems with the study. Like it is like a meme in the community that people only seem to reference the study from your position. But go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, even if it's not 80%, even if it's, I mean, I would say it could even be under 50%. If it's, 30 or 35% of people who identify as transgender when their children outgrow into adulthood, I'd say it's incredibly irresponsible
It's
to
3%.
provide medical
Actually,
intervention that is a lot of the times not necessarily permanent, but isn't reversible either, right? Like there's lingering effects of it after you're done, be it for puberty blockers, be it for taking, hormones or whatever.
So
Those effects are designed to impact you for the rest of your life. So the idea that we're going to do that to people who, for all intents and purposes, could grow out of it into adulthood is, if you're following the Hippocratic Oath, is completely irresponsible and unethical and should not happen in the United States.
well, then I'm happy to
real
let
quick,
you
I-
know. Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
No, I just want to point out that like when we look at the actual, like as of 2024, there hasn't really been a study more thorough than the study that I've pulled up on the screen right now, which is re-identification with birth registered sex in a Western Australian pediatric gender clinic cohort. So to my knowledge, there hasn't been one with as much with as many participants and over as long a period of time as this one, which used 552 participants over a 6-year time frame. And what they found is that in all of the cases of people desisting, which would be 93.1% of the desistance cases, which out of 552 participants, that was 27 participants. So what's 27% of 550? Hold on.
Wait, I'm sorry. You're saying that out of the 500 some patients that you're talking about, 27%?
No,
No, not
27.
27 patients.
27 patients. 27 patients out of 552 desisted.
Which accounts for what percent?
27 is 4%.
27 people out of 500 some. That would be about 5%.
That's 4.89% of people desisted. Of those, only 1% of them, and that would have been 2 people, desisted after being prescribed any puberty blockers and or hormones. So if you have a study that's more thorough than this one, and used more people over a longer period of time, I'll gladly read it. But to my knowledge, we haven't gotten any study that's as thorough as this one yet.
Yeah.
And this one shows that desisting is going to be about 5% of the population.
And just to hit home, sorry, can I just jump in? I really want to finish the thought I was trying to bring up earlier. The problem with the study that you referenced also, there's massive methodological flaws, including how they described people who were trans in that study and who they counted as desisters, because there was both people who ceased attending the clinic were counted as desisters when they actually had no reason to believe that those people did not continue to identify with the given gender. And it was people who attended the clinic who were signed up for, consented with their parents and all of that stuff. So it's not anyone who attended the clinic, but were considered participants of this study. So you're talking about a lot of people who display any sort of gender aberrant behavior. Their parents are bringing them to this clinic, and then they're being considered trans for this study. Yeah, no, it would be really obvious that cohort would have like an 80% desistance rate, because you're not actually diagnosing people for being trans there. You're just observing people who attend a gender clinic. Like, it's not surprising to me that the majority of people who have a thought about gender early on probably don't end up being trans. But as Jovan pointed out, a lot of other studies that we have, including some things like from the Americans for Transgender Equality and the, what was the other organization that did one? Josie Caballero had a big part in organizing that study. Showed that it was like less than 1% of people were desisting. I've seen high estimates of 3, low estimates of like 0.02. And Jovan just brought up one that was like, it was like 4%, you said?
4.89.
So, yeah, I mean, and that's so much lower than a lot of other uncontroversial medical practices. So, I mean, if you want to complain about like regret rates and things like that, I'm fine with that conversation. I just don't find it very honest when that conversation focuses on trans healthcare, which is not particularly unique in this way or controversial in this way. And this is a problem with medicine, like kind of across the board. So, but that's all I had to add to that.
Okay, so you guys have said a lot. So we can go down the medical study route if you want to. That's just, like, we can do that, and I'm equipped to do that. That's just very boring, and I think that kind of misses the point of what we're trying to get at.
Well, just responding to the study you brought up, though.
I'm just trying to speak from a place where we can at least, agree with each other in some sense of the word. Would you agree with me that it's relatively easy, not in all 50 states in the United States, but in places like Washington and Oregon, for example, and California, would you agree that it's relatively easy for like 16-year-olds, for example, to get access to like medicine, to medically transition, like generally speaking?
No.
Like, for example, I know someone in real life who they started publicly identifying as transgender, and within a month they were on not puberty blockers. Within a month they were on testosterone blockers, and they were on like feminizing hormones within a month. And that wasn't in any of those states, that is said. Which, like, that I would consider a month turnaround for that to be pretty quick.
No,
Would you agree with me that that's generally the case?
No, as of 2023, only 2,084 California children received gender reassignment procedures from 2019 to 2023. So no, I don't think it's that easy if only 2,000 kids are getting it in a span of 4 years.
That's not the question I asked, though, because I said that
Well, yes,
it's not a matter of how many children are doing it.
Well, yes,
it's a matter of how quickly you can get access to those hormones.
If it was easy to get access quickly, more children would be on them.
That doesn't make sense, because you're saying more children would be on. There isn't a benchmark for the amount of children that would normally get hormones. So saying that it's only like 2,400 or whatever, that's not being compared to anything else. You're just saying that number.
I know it's not
right?
being compared to anything else. I'm saying that 2,084 children over the span of 4 years is what, 500 kids a year on average? So 500 kids a year are receiving this, but it's supposed to be this easy thing to get and they get it super quickly. No, the problem, what actually happens is there are long wait lists for people to even be seen in a gender clinic. Second of all, California still goes under the WPATH standard, which requires 6 months of consistent, persistent, and insistent gender therapy or gender therapy to get diagnosed with gender dysphoria. So no, I would disagree based on your anecdotal evidence of the person you know that it's easy to get gender affirming care or to get like hormone blockers or pubertal suppressants in California because you say it is.
And it looks like there's about 9 million kids in California, and we know that trans people usually figure out to be about 1% of the general population. So that's already 500 per year would be massively under the amount of kids who probably are trans in California every year.
So there's no historical like benchmark to say that 1% of the population is trans. I'm not saying you made it up. That's something that our culture has made up. If you look at India, which is for all intents and purposes the most quote unquote transgender affirming culture in the history of the world, where you have these, if you debate transgender politics a lot of the time, you probably know about this, but in India, you have these things called hijra, they're not seen as women, but they're biological men, right, who are born with like the male reproductive system, who as adults, which they don't tend to do this until they are adults, but that's beside the point, they will transition in adulthood and they will wear women's clothes, take women's names. Oftentimes they will marry men and not think of themselves as gay because of it, right? And this practice has been around essentially as long as Hinduism has been around. So it's been around for thousands of years. There's two things. Number one, hijra in Indian society, up until today, they're not considered they're not considered women in the way that like a lot of like American leftists would consider transgender women to just be women, like point blank, right? They don't consider them women in that sense of the word. And number two, hijra make up less than 0.1% of the population of India. Like, so you like the idea that like the natural population of people who are transgender is 1%.
So that's coming from census, by the way. I just looked it up.
Well, yeah. Where do you think, Chris? Where do you think when we say we get the number, it's 0.6, so we round up to 1, right? So where do you think we get that number from? Do you think we're just like pulling it out of our like badukis, or?
Good word.
No, I'm sure there's. I mean, if you're talking about children in particular, I'm sure there's child psychologists that have made studies about that and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's specifically going from data from the behavioral risk factor surveillance system, the youth risk behavioral system, and then just using statistical modeling which we use for everything to predict like how far something will go. So I would just say, like, you're saying like there's no way to know if that number is 100%. I would say, well, yeah, that's any number that you have predicting how, like if we were to say how many Christians are in America, right? We can't say that for 100% certainty. We use models and statistical evidence to sort of make an educated guess.
Okay, that's valid. And I kind of just want to bring it back to the issue of children, because regardless of if, let's just say that you're true, or say that you're right, like 1% of the population, give or take, I know you said it's 0.6, we can round up, right? If 1% of the population is transgender, and we're going to go off of children explaining how they feel, right, to their care providers, to therapists, whatever, right, to determine if they are transgender or not, is there anything else in medicine that we allow that kind of like anecdotal evidence to be provided
lots of things.
to provide people with treatments that can affect them for the rest of their lives? And if there are, can you
Pain,
please tell me?
depression, anxiety, lots of things. Yes. Pain is one of the biggest ones. Pain is a completely subjective thing. Doctors prescribe pain medications all the time, which can have lifelong implications for somebody's body. I have multiple family members who have massive addiction issues because they were prescribed painkillers for treatments, and now they can't stop taking them. Yeah, pain is a big one. Completely subjective, completely clinical diagnostic.
False equivalence.
Can you demonstrate the false
Okay.
equivalency?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So when I if let's say I break my leg, right? I'm in a lot of pain from it doesn't have to be something physically you can see like a break. I agree with you. It can be something completely subjective. You go to the doctor, you say my leg hurts. Even if the doctor sees your leg's completely fine, the doctor, I think normally something has to actually be wrong with you. But right, the doctor can give you Oxycontin, for example, right? The goal, like if the doctor is being ethical, right? The goal of him or her, right? The goal of him or her providing you Oxycontin isn't for you to get addicted to it, right? Getting addicted to opiates is a side effect of being prescribed opiates, and most people who are prescribed opiates do not end up being addicted to them. A large portion of people do, and that's not okay, that's not good. But the purpose of opiates, when prescribed ethically in a medical setting, is to stop pain.
So
it is not to get addicted to opiates.
I'm not seeing how that's a false equivalence, because the purpose of taking gender affirming care is not to regret it. It's to be one of the statistically likely people who are going to benefit from the care. So I don't really see what the false equivalence is.
Yeah, so because I didn't finish my point, so you don't see what the false equivalence is. The thing with gender affirming care, especially if you're talking about things like hormone blockers or puberty blockers, is the goal of that medication is to disrupt the reproductive status or the reproductive process of your body. It's to change that in order for you to develop other characteristics that you otherwise would not develop.
I don't think that's a very honest way to describe what's going on. I think the goal is to improve somebody's quality of life.
Wait, Arden, let's just say it is. Let's say that's exactly what's going on. What's the harm?
Yeah.
Why is it a negative? Why is it something we shouldn't do?
Yeah. So, but going back to what I was just saying, the harm of opiates, right? It isn't that you don't feel pain anymore. That's not the harm. The harm is that you get addicted to it, right? The thing with the hormone blockers with puberty blockers and hormone blockers and stuff is that the harm is the purpose of what they're prescribing it for, right? The purpose of that medication it's to improve the quality of life. I agree with you, but the way it improves the quality of life is by messing with your reproductive system and how it develops. That's the point of the medication.
Yeah,
right?
you didn't demonstrate a harm here. You said the harm, so now you have to demonstrate why that's harmful. You just said it's harmful.
It's harmful because if that child, right, who identifies as transgender when they're a child, if let's say when they're 20, 21, 22, right, if they stop identifying as transgender, there is massive harm being done insofar as now you have a cisgender person who, knowing what they know then, would not have gone through any of these medical interventions, who now has a lifelong medical problem that was completely avoidable, that was done electively.
That's a risk for all medical interventions, though. There's nothing unique about gender affirming care that has that risk. That's the risk of all medical intervention.
All I want to point out is how low does the regret rate have to be, the detransition rate have to be for us to say that this is a harm and that we should restrict care for the majority of people?
Well, it's a harm at any regret rate. And the reason for that is because we don't, as a society, right, we don't allow children to make these kinds of decisions. There's there is no other, wait, hold on, let me finish, please. There is no other thing that a child could choose to do, whether it's regards to their health, whether it's regards to voting, to doing substances, to making life decisions, anything like that. There is no other situation that we allow children to voluntarily enter into that has these kinds of ramifications for their
Yeah,
life.
there is. There is
point
actually.
blank.
There is
No,
actually.
that's such a lie.
If a child gets pregnant,
Like what?
if a child gets pregnant, we allow
Sorry?
them to stay pregnant, even though pregnancy has a litany of risks and complications, especially the younger you are.
If a child has cancer,
We don't allow
cancer
children to have
treatments regularly impact fertility for
Wait.
somebody's entire life. They cause lots of health problems while you're taking them.
Hold on, but I also want to point out we absolutely do let children have sex. Talking about
Not
anyone
legally.
under 18
Not
can have
legally.
sex. Like under 18, like you're saying we should. It's illegal for 16-year-olds to have sex.
The age of consent in most U.S. states is 18. Yeah.
The age of consent is what age you can consent to an adult.
I mean, if you're talking about children having sex with each other, I'm pretty sure that's a legal gray area. There is no.
No, it's not. It's not illegal for a 16-year-old to have sex with another 16-year-old. It's quite literally not illegal.
It's not. Even if it's not expressly stated to be illegal, it is not like that. That's not something that's encouraged by any sort of medical institution in the way that gender affirming care is, like, at all. You can't compare those.
You
two
can
things.
literally go to any doctor's office and get prescribed pregnancy,
Birth control,
like,
condoms, yeah, all that kind of stuff.
When you're 16, they'll give you birth control because they're like, yeah, you're gonna have that. We literally teach sex ed starting at like 14, 15.
Also,
to teach kids how to do it safely. What are you talking about?
I kind of want to go back to also, sorry, Tomris, is that your name? Yeah, okay. So I think you're completely wrong that there's no other thing that children can do with regard to the health that has these kind of ramifications, or things in all sorts of ways that have these similar effects that you're not here complaining about. But did you say that any regret would be a problem in your eyes?
I mean, yeah, you could go down the regret road, but like the bigger picture is that no, children, we should not give children the agency.
Wait, can you
to make
answer
that
my question though? The one I
2 seconds.
specifically asked you. Did you say that any regret of these procedures would be a problem for you?
Yes, because children shouldn't be having them in the first place.
Okay,
Yes,
so okay, that's all I needed. You said yes. So how do you square medicine? Because all medicine has significant potential side effects for every treatment that exists. There's not a single treatment that exists in the entirety of medicine that is free of risk. So are you saying that because people can regret treatments and they all have risks that we just like, what would the logical conclusion of that be? Is it only for trans healthcare that we care about risk, or do you care about risk in general? Like, do you actually have that value consistently?
I care about it when it's regarding people who we, generally speaking, don't consider having their own agency in that regard.
So to be clear, kids aren't consenting. To be clear, kids aren't consenting to any medical intervention at all. Kids assent, and their parents consent on their behalf. So this isn't unique. Again, this isn't unique about trans medicine at all. All medicine kids are not consenting to. All medicine carries risks and potential long-term side effects. Again, like if you take fucking chemo treatments, that has a massive impact on fertility, and that causes a lot of people to be completely infertile for the rest of their life, but they need that treatment. That's just a side effect people acknowledge, maybe unfortunate, but is a necessary part of improving this person's quality of life and making sure that they're healthy and get to live to see a long life. So are you actually holding a value of regret and side effects, or are you singling out trans issues specifically?
All right, so if I respond to this, are you going to interrupt me again, or are you going to actually
If
let
you
me
say
make my
something that's objectionable, probably.
No, because I let you say things that are objectionable this entire time, and I didn't interrupt you. So
You
please
can
just
pipe up.
offer me the same respect, and then you can keep a mental tally of all the objectionable things I say, and then after I'm done making my point, you can make that. That's how a conversation works. Okay?
Wow,
So
thanks for that.
As an adult, right? Oh my God, dude. Okay. If I, as an adult, right, want to get an elective procedure, such as plastic surgery or something, or chemotherapy for that matter, right? I, as an adult, right, can make an informed, consenting decision as a sovereign person, right, to have that procedure. And then, for example, right, if I have some risky, like, plastic surgery procedure, and then I have some complication because of it, and my life is, like, permanently altered, or I die, right? It's, generally speaking, it's okay for me to do that because I'm an adult and I have my own agency, right? Assuming that it's a voluntary thing, right, where I'm physically going to be okay, right? If I don't have that procedure, it is logically consistent that we should not allow children to do it. So the example that you made with chemo, right? If a child has like cancer, and it's a serious kind of cancer, and it's reasonable to assume that they're probably going to die if they don't receive chemotherapy, right? It is completely ethically valid to give that child chemotherapy, because any of the negative things that chemotherapy could do, such as infertility, such as losing all your hair, such as getting a secondary cancer from being exposed to radiation, which happens all the time, right? The risk of all of those things happening is like the damage from those things happening is less than that child dying, which is the whole point. So the only way, right? The only way that you're going to be able to make this point that providing gender affirming care to children is a net positive is if you're going to have to prove to me that most of those children are not going to survive into adulthood if they don't receive treatment.
Does the threshold need to be most?
Say, oh, like, you know, they're going to be sad and they're going to kill themselves. I'm asking you to provide like a logical.
Because who cares about if they kill themselves?
Let me just interrupt here. Let me just interrupt here because you have a fundamental misunderstanding of how medical care is done in this country.
Yeah.
You have a fundamental misunderstanding. Children don't need to consent to medical care. They assent to medical care. And they only have to assent. They only are required to assent at like 14. Prior to that, they don't consent or assent. Their parents consent. So you can make the claim, well, I don't think kids can consent to this. Great. I also don't think kids can consent to medical care. That's why their parents do it. So it's not about whether or not the child can consent. That's a non-argument in this standpoint. Because again, it's a medical procedure. So the parents consent to all medical procedures for a child. Now at 14, you typically need to get assent, which is just letting the child and getting an acknowledgement from the child that the child understands what's about to happen. But like, again, legally in our medical system, parents consent, not children. So the whole premise of the beginning premise of your argument is flawed.
Okay, no, that's 100% valid, and I can respond to it incredibly quickly. Just like if that child, let's say the age doesn't really matter. It's a child, right? And they're under their parents, like what you just said, right? Their parents, I don't know the term you used, but their parents will make medical decisions on their behalf, right? If I'm a parent and I want to make a medical decision for my child that is objectively harmful or objectively is more harmful than the potential good, the state absolutely has an obligation to step in and stop that parent from doing that to that child. Absolutely.
Yes, but you have to prove the harm, which you have not done.
The harm is that the reproductive system is like forever altered, possibly destroyed.
But again, that's not unique. That happens in lots of medical interventions. That's what we're saying. You're not showing something that is unique about this medical care that is a particular risk.
Arden, I just want to point out, your reproductive system is not destroyed from going through puberty blockers and HRT. So I don't know what.
Yeah, not necessarily. There can be some reduction in fertility on certain cross-sex hormone treatments, but generally not on hormone blockers. Usually your endogenous puberty will resume like 6 months after if you choose not to pursue cross-sex hormones. And we haven't seen any significant decrease in fertility for those people. But regardless, like even if it does impact fertility, again, lots of treatments impact fertility long-term. And as you pointed out already, we consent to those because there are other risks, and we've decided that that person's life, their quality of life, is more important than necessarily their capacity to reproduce. And usually kids are informed about this before they assent to these medical procedures, as well as the parents. And the same thing is happening with trans medical care. We've decided that better than them killing themselves or having an extremely low quality of life is allowing them to transition and potentially choose to risk their fertility on cross-sex hormones. That is something that people are being informed of, and they're being informed of at age-appropriate stages to make those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I just wouldn't say that the age of 15 or 16 is age appropriate to make that kind of decision, like point blank, period. Unless, like you said,
we're back,
like chemotherapy,
Thomas, we're right back to,
if they don't receive it. If they're
we're right back to this. We're right back to you going that they can't make that decision. We're back to that argument, but that argument doesn't hold weight because they don't make the decision themselves. Their parents and their doctors are making.
And why should anyone care what you think is age appropriate? I want you to bring evidence that it's not age appropriate. I don't care if you think it's not age appropriate. That's not relevant. Unless you're a researcher and you have research and you're trying to convey that to us.
Well, no, because I'm saying that just by this, I feel like we're talking in circles, right? Just by the same logic, right, that a parent cannot have their child go under a medical procedure that is not absolutely necessary if it's going to harm them, right? By that exact same logic, we do that for everything else. And I know you said there's all these other medical things that we do that causes children to lose their fertility. I'd like to hear about one besides chemotherapy, or besides another thing that is like an extremely niche, extremely specific thing that like the child is going to die if they don't receive it. I agree. If the child is like empirically like probably going to die, right? And I'm not talking about from like social ostracization or something. I'm talking about like their body will stop functioning if they do not receive this treatment. It is completely ethical, right? To give them a medicine that's going to stop their reproductive system from working, or that's going to give them like a secondary disease or something, if it means they're not going to die. I 100% agree with you in that case. And that's why, again, we let children get chemotherapy, because we're saving their life. That's okay, right?
I feel like your answers are getting a little circular.
Hold on.
You just talked for fucking 4 minutes, dog.
Self-report. You have not given me anything that children self-report, that as a result of that completely subjective self-reporting, we give them medicine that causes their reproductive system to be altered, if not stop working. There's no other way that we. There's no other avenue.
This is the issue. This is the issue. This is the issue here. One, your answers are getting completely circular. They're getting completely circular. Two, when we're talking about justifying the removal of healthcare, we don't have to justify. You have to justify the removal. You have to point out the harm. Now you're saying, well, the harm is that it can alter their reproductive system. Okay, why is that harm? Why? Like, who cares? Like, if you have a kid who doesn't give a shit about ever getting pregnant, or doesn't give a shit about ever having biological children, then there is no harm. The harm is all of a sudden, the harm is completely gone now.
Not true.
Yes, it is.
Not true.
Where's the harm?
And I'll tell you why. Because children change their minds, right? I'm pretty sure.
I've never changed my mind about wanting kids.
Study that says children change their minds, like if you really want to, but just empirically, right? Or subjectively, right? When I was, say, 16, right? I didn't want to have children when I was 16. Most 16-year-olds don't want to have children, right? Most 16-year-olds want to either play video games or play sports or hang out with their friends or do whatever, right? That's what 16-year-olds want to do. To have a 16-year-old, right, tell you, I don't want to have children. Yep, you can do all this stuff to me because, like, I'm not planning on having children. So if my reproductive system gets, damaged or possibly, doesn't work in the future, that's fine because I don't want to have children. A 16-year-old telling you that does not negate the fact that it's entirely possible when that kid's, 10 years older, in their 20s, 20 years older, in their 30s, whatever. That does not negate the point that child can have or adult at that point, right, can have an incredibly significant blow to their quality of life because they realize as an adult, like a bunch of people do, right?
Potentially, but you don't get to decide that for them.
15, and now I can't have children.
You're just making speculative arguments.
So ridiculously irresponsible.
You're just making speculative arguments.
What are you talking about?
This is a speculative argument. You're saying, well, we shouldn't do it in case they get older, and in case when they get older, they change their mind. Even though right now they don't want it. Right now, what actually will benefit them is going through this care because that's going to benefit quality of life in a litany of ways. But because there's a chance that they may want kids in the future, they shouldn't be able to go through this. They shouldn't be able to actually get the help that research shows will actually benefit them. Because there's a chance they may get. It's just a speculative argument,
and it's like that's just your feelings. Like, why? Like, it doesn't matter. Sure. Even if it's true that they could change their mind, you don't get to decide that for them.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Absolutely, make a decision regarding limitations on medical intervention for children. That absolutely is something the state does.
That's not what I said.
Hold on, real quick. What age should a person be able to have bottom surgery? What age?
18. Well, I mean, if you're asking me personally, 18. I'd put it higher than that. But like legal, like generally speaking, for the sake of this argument, 18.
Got it. So at 16, they can't decide if they don't want kids, but at 18 they can. What significantly changes in the brain, or even at 17? At 17, they can't decide that they don't want kids in the future, but at 18 they can. What significantly changes in the brain function between a 17 and an 18-year-old?
It's not in brain function. As a society, that's what we've determined.
So it's just an arbitrary line in the sand.
You have the ability to make those kinds of decisions.
Yes, it's just an arbitrary line in the sand of when we say.
No, it's not arbitrary.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
If you can't demonstrate the relevant change between 17 and 18, it is arbitrary.
No, and I'll tell you why. Right, the age of consent in most states, is 18.
Yep.
Hold on, I'm making.
I'm not talking about the age of consent.
You're going on something that's irrelevant. That's why he's interrupting you.
No, it's relevant for the exact same reason, right?
It's not.
The age of consent is 18 because by and large, right, most 18-year-olds, as we've determined as a society, are emotionally like developed enough that they can make a consenting decision to have sex with someone. It's not like when they're 17 they can't, and then when they turn 18 all of a sudden the biology of their brain changes and they can. That's not how it works.
This is not what I'm
We've
talking
made
about.
that determination.
Comrade, you are not talking. You're
benchmark as society.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Same thing with medical.
That's not
This is
what I'm
functionally
talking
him doing
about.
so he can have time to think.
The argument I put in front of you. That's not the argument I put in front of you.
You guys are talking over each other. I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, because you're talking about something that's not the argument I put in front of you. It's not the argument that I made. The argument I made, you said the reason why they shouldn't be able to get this procedure done is because what if they change their mind in the future? And so I'm asking you, what is the difference between them getting it done at 17 and them getting it done at 18?
That they're legally an adult.
Great. So it doesn't actually matter about the harm. The harm doesn't actually matter.
No, it does.
No, it doesn't.
You just said it's about the legality.
It's about the legality, but the legality is informed by the fact that there is a certain point where we allow people to make bad decisions, right? If you're a 40-year-old man and you want to drink alcohol every day, you shouldn't do that. And if you're 16, we're not going to allow you to do that. But generally speaking, because we value sovereignty and independence as a society, I'm going to allow an adult to make a bad decision that could possibly end their life, right? I'm not going to allow a child to do it because we, generally speaking, agree that children don't have the best judgment in the way that adults do. Adults don't have the best judgment either, but they have better judgment than children do, right?
How much does suicidality drop for trans children who receive gender-affirming medical care?
That's such a massive pivot. I can't even comprehend it. I don't know it for me.
You said if they're going to die, then you would agree with this thing. Suicidality drops by 70%. Is 70% a big enough drop in suicidality to allow these people to receive the care that they need?
No, because the suicidality is not a medical process.
Yes, it is.
That's a psychological process.
Psychology is medicine.
Dude, okay. You're completely missing the point. Okay.
No, I'm not. You said it's not a medical process. Psychology is quite literally medicine. I don't know if you know this.
It's not a medical process.
I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
But like, in order to treat somebody for and prescribe psychotherapy, like SSRIs, things like that, you have to like go to medical school.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know this, but it's a medicine.
Yeah, but okay, I'm on SSRIs, right? My SSRIs do not have a significant chance of making me infertile. They do not have a significant chance of changing my outward physical characteristics. You can't compare SSRIs to puberty blockers.
Irrelevant. Irrelevant.
Okay, enough people paid. You can't even fucking track the conversation because at no point was I comparing SSRIs to fucking puberty suppressants.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude.
Especially like
conversation.
Again, because there are plenty of like he kept acknowledging, well, I don't know how much he truly acknowledged the problem with, arguing from fertility. Then he'd be like, okay, well, it's actually about this. But then he would go back to fertility. Then he would go back to the age thing. It was just like flip-flop whenever you would put him in a corner about any of the individual things he said. Holy shit. Also, $20 from Justin. Thank you.
It is a frustrating way to go about the argument, to go, well, and they do this all the time. These side effects are bad because the side effects are permanent. We want the side effects to be permanent. That's kind of
the point.
That's the point. Shout out to Anthony and to Goose as well for the Venmos. Thank you guys.
Also, I haven't been shouting out super chats. I don't have an established procedure on that yet, but I got monetized after last time we did a stream, and now I'm getting super chats. So thank you guys for those too. I appreciate it.
I don't understand where this art, like, if you can't show the relevant harm, I don't know why we keep doing this. Like, you can't just say it's harmful because it's harmful.
Yeah, and the thing is too, I would be totally fine with a conversation on like the quality of evidence at medicine writ large and how a lot of it is bad, including elements of like trans healthcare. Like a lot of medicine is just poorly evidentiary, not poorly, but far from our best that we could produce, right? And there's really good reasons for that, by the way. or like conversations about children consenting in medicine. There's an interesting conversation to be had there as it intersects with gender stuff, or side effects that impact fertility and people's tendency to change their mind on issues. Those are all interesting conversations, but the problem is they don't actually care about like children consenting to medical procedures or fertility outcomes or anything like that. They only care about it in as much as it intersects with trans people specifically. They want trans people specifically to be protected from these sorts of interventions, but not literally anyone else in the entire medical field who's experiencing those exact same outcomes. It's extremely dishonest and really frustrating.
There's also not a number. You would think as a group of people that want to show that this is harmful, they would get an actual study done with a percentage of trans people that have become infertile after gender affirming hormone treatment.
And regretted it.
Or I mean, we know,
yeah,
and regretted being infertile.
Yeah.
But we know that the regret rate, even for something like bottom surgery, I think it's 2.2% is the regret rate for bottom surgery. So like these people aren't regretting this. They're not regretting going through these treatments. They're not regretting. And you can say, well, the children are regretting it. It's got to be the case that the children are regretting it. But even that, when we look at studies, is untrue. So again, if the children were regretting it, they would detransition.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out that it's also a part of the standards of care to offer fertility preservation for minors who are about to go on some sort of puberty suppression or something like that. I got on puberty blockers when I was 14, and I was offered fertility preservation. And guess what? I found out that I was already infertile before I even started any sort of interventions as a teen, right? So I had to, and I've wanted kids. I've always wanted kids. So I had to accept, not even related to my trans stuff, years and years ago, that I would never have my own biological children, right? And part of me wishes like, oh, I wonder if I could find out. But you know what I don't want? I don't want to be, I don't want to have a child that way. So I would rather adopt and offer a child a home that I can love them in, you know, as an adopted mother, rather than like fathering a child. That's not something I want for myself, even if I were to have children. So it's just like, it's confused at so many levels about what trans people are asking for, what they want, what they need, what kind of, like they have in their minds that if they change their mind, they're going to change their mind back into the direction of cis heteronormativity and those kinds of like traditional standards. When it's like, even if they change their mind, you don't know that they're going to go that way. They could end up being like an agender, like, I don't know what the fuck I am. I don't really care to figure it out. I'm just me, and I'm going to live my life and not try to put a label on it. That's been my experience of what most people in that position, the kind of direction they go.
So I do want to, before we get started, I do want to post, I love that I got my Google Scholar alert that there are new transgender studies to read. This is a 7-year long, longer than 7+ year long longitudinal study done on the effectiveness of puberty suppression, cross-sex hormones, reassignment surgery, all on like the outcome of lives in young adults. Okay. So specifically, they looked at a mean age of 16, a mean age of 13, a mean age of 20 when they're looking at like the age groups that they're looking here. They found psychological functioning, that's gender dysphoria, body image, global functioning, depression, anxiety, emotional, behavioral problems. There was a steady improve. They steadily improved with gender affirming treatment, overall well-being, both objective qualities, which is social and educational / professional functioning, and subjective, which is quality of life, satisfaction with life, and happiness, were similar to or better than same age young adults from the general population. So like, it does help. And anyone saying that doesn't help, sorry.
Empirically wrong, as he liked to say, not referencing empiricism at all. Yeah, it's also funny to me when people like that bring up a study and they immediately bring up the 80% number. I'm like, I immediately know you're dishonest. All you've done is you saw that on Twitter, because gender criticals on Twitter love to fucking share that study and to never explain the problems with that study. And the fact that you immediately launch into it and then cry when I immediately point out that it's like not like if we're going to talk about research, or even like this has happened before on TACUS recently, where somebody was mentioning, you know, the quality of certain research papers was poor. And I was like, I agree that they're not great. They could be a lot better. But the one that you showed up with is that 80% one, which is like unusable. That data is not transmissible to the general population of what we would today consider to be transgender people. That's not who that population observed. That population was just people who attended a clinic. Like, that's such a broad brush to paint them with. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I just think if you're gonna go, well, we can't do gender affirming care. You also can't do like birth control. You also shouldn't be able to do basically any elective medical treatment for your child. Ooh.
Ooh. I always get a vibe too that those people are like, what do you call? Is it natalists? Where they just like
Antinatalist.
not even anti-natalists. The people who like are like, oh no, birth rates are declining. We need to like make a lot of babies. Like that's kind of the vibe I get when you're like super concerned with the fertility of a kid you've never met before that you don't know anything about.
Yeah. Also, if you're going to complain about interrupting, like maybe make your points in less than 5 minutes. I don't know.
For real.
Bro, I don't care if someone interrupts me. If I'm saying something and you have a point that you can make that'll like counter what I'm saying, go ahead and interrupt me. Like I'm not gonna fucking cry about it. It's a debate. All right. I gotta pee. Arden, entertain.
Okay, I will entertain the audience. Oh, I'll pull these out real quick. I'll get you guys a snake to look at while Jovan goes pee. I'll keep chatting. I won't have my headphones in, but you guys can hear me. And I've got Jovan's chat up too, so I can Gilead vibes straight up for real. That is what it feels like out here. So let's see if we can get Citrine out. Hi, baby. So this girl I had out last time, she's my easiest one to grab. She's always chill. This is Citrine. She is a dreamsicle ball python. She's got piebaldism, which makes her white with these saddles, and then a type of albinism that gets her the orange kind of thing. Oh, Teacher Taylor wants to see a gecko. All right, we could do a gecko, but she is so sweet. She is such a good girl. And she's just finally getting confident. She's been in that enclosure for like, maybe like 2 months now. She's just starting to like explore and be out and about when she's not being handled. So she's getting a lot more confident. Yeah, you're such a sweet baby. All right, let me get you guys a gecko. Let's see. Who should we grab? Ooh, there's eggs in that one. My girl laid eggs. How about... I don't show these off as often because they're kind of new, but these are gargoyle geckos. They've got these cool little ridges on their face, and they look like the gargoyle statues that you see on buildings. That's why they're called that. They got really cool eyes. Raw. And this is a boy. He's very sweet. He's got like these orange blotches on his back, and his claws get stuck on my finger all the time. But they look like trees. They blend in really well with trees and stuff. So.
Hey, Debbie.
There you go. There's your reptile power hour. All right, headphones are back in. Somebody said, show us a crusty. I opted not to. My one crusty that was really good for handling got to breeding size, and he just became super aggressive. Now he's like horny all the time and wants to bite and fuck everything all the time, and so he's not fun to show off anymore. Maybe I can see if my Dalmatian girl over here is available. Hello, sweetie. Hey, there you are. Oh, she's not fired up. When she's fired up, she gets real pink and red. But you can see she's got Dalmatian splotches all up and down her. And she just got big enough where I think she's probably going to lay some egg duds in the near future. Oh, come on. There we go. She's really sweet. I got her early on when I was getting geckos. But yeah, she's a gem.
I'm ordering lunch.
Huh?
I said I'm ordering lunch.
Oh, lunch? Nice. Yeah, I probably will have to eat something before Takis, but I'm gonna be going right from. I should set my stream to dump you guys in Takis chat after we're done in here. So it'll be Ben and Josie, I think, later. All right.
Next time somebody comes up and they disagree with gender affirming care, I need them to accurately describe to me how gender affirming care is given medically in the
True.
United States. Otherwise, you can't talk about it.
100%.
I want to know how gender dysphoria is diagnosed. I want to know the timetables of the specific care. I want to know that. Otherwise, I don't think you should be talking about it.
Where
Just like I think if you don't know what the like uvula is, you probably shouldn't. Not the uvula, the vulva. Never mind. I also shouldn't. If you don't know what the vulva is, you shouldn't talk about pregnancy. But I said uvula, so I apparently shouldn't. Office hours is at 1 p.m.
That's really funny.
Hello, are you here to debate?
Hi, I sure am.
All right, what's your name, age, and pronouns?
Sure. So my name is Nick. I'm 24 years old, and I'm a woman. I don't do that pronoun stuff.
Good for you. What did you want to talk about?
I'm just messing with you, Jovan. My pronouns are he, her.
Okay. What specifically were you calling to talk about?
Sure. So I wanted to talk about how trans women are women. And as far as I understand from what I've watched of you, you understand the difference that trans women are women because you offer a distinction between sex and gender, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say that I kind of agree with that, but I also disagree with that. So I think that female isn't just a sex. It's not like just phenotypic or genotypic sex. And so I've heard you say that trans women don't claim to be females. Is that right?
I would say I would assume most trans women would not claim to be genotypically female, but a lot of them, especially if they've gone through specific gender affirming hormone therapy or sexual reassignment therapy or sexual reassignment surgeries, they'd probably say they're phenotypically female. And I don't know that I'd necessarily disagree with them, since like in order to be phenotypically female, you just kind of have to look like a female, or what is typical of females.
But so female is still like within those like sex terms. You're not really like, that can't be like a social factor of female specifically. It's like biological terms.
Well, I don't understand what you're asking, because it would be a biological thing, because like the reason they'd be phenotypically female is because they would align specific biological attributes of themselves with what is typical of females.
Yeah, I mean, like we're talking about biological facts, but there is it's not as arbitrary as like gender identity, right? Where you're just talking about what you're experiencing, your subjective experience. But I would say that I don't personally tend to make this claim, but I do think there is some arguments to be made from like utility, for example. If you're going to a doctor's office, like it's probably more useful for the doctor to think of some trans women as female. So there's like sometimes like a practical utility element to it as well. That's not purely biological. But yeah, anyway, I want to hear what
before we get super into the weeds. Oh no, well you do kind of disagree. So never mind. I was gonna say let's save this for office hours, but I guess you do have a disagreement, so it's fine to talk about now.
Well, okay, so I guess I have a different relationship with female than most other people might, because I like live like stealth as female, right? Not like as a woman, but like specifically like I work for like a place where they don't know that I'm transgender, right? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, like as like someone assigned male at birth, to like really live this sort of like female life that is like distinctly different from how you would elsewise live as like a woman in like a gender affirming society. So I
the
just
only
think
the
that,
only
like,
thing I would say though, not to interrupt, it's but you know you said you were a female, so I guess I kind of have to. That was a joke. The only thing that I would say when you're talking about like you live as a female, we have to be, the reason why we default to woman is that like if I were to say I live as a female, That could be any mammal, or that could be a plant, right? Female isn't specific to human. That's why we default to the gender categories, because that's when we're adding the human element to it.
Right. Yeah. But you would obviously understand is that like being female is different than being a woman, especially from people who don't like validate gender identity. They're like different lived experiences.
Sure, but I can't think of what experience would default to female. Well, there is no experience that every female goes through, right? There can be what's typical. Like these are typical.
Not.
These are experiences that are typical to like a female, but even then, in almost all of those experiences are going to be the social aspect as well, which adds in the woman side.
Yeah.
So like we could say, well, it's typical of females to be typically when we look at a female to a male, they're going to be a bit smaller in body size than a male, right? Males are going to typically grow larger, but none of that matters until we get into the social aspect of like men using their size to oppress women, right? That's when we get into like, okay, this is, but I wouldn't necessarily, I would say that that's social now. We've left the biological, or at least we haven't left the biological, but we've mixed the biological and the social, which is where we get woman.
Right.
Is a mix of the biological and the social.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that women, in my lived experience, is not just like a solely like genetic scientific term. Like it's sort of like you're like getting hit on by people who don't know that like, you know, I'm not female, and like they interact with me in a very female way, because to a lot of people that's how they understand gender. They don't understand it as this sort of like open-ended, like expressive art like queer people might.
So to me, that still sounds like gender, though.
It's explicitly female instead of just being a woman, because they understand the difference. And if you get treated as female, that is different than getting treated as a woman. And I'm not like saying that one of these is like better or more preferable. In fact, it's kind of uncomfortable, but I would take issue with it just being a biological factor and nothing.
So I don't know that I agree with you, Nick. I think when we're talking about how people are treating you, we're talking about gender and we're talking about woman. Like I wouldn't consider myself stealth, right? But I'm not like broadcasting that I'm trans when I'm out. I have a few communities that I interact with around where I live, where most of the people I interact with aren't aware that I'm trans. And sure, there's times
of people that don't know in the videos that I've posted of us.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that is probably a thing too. And then like in my experience, a lot of the times people will make it evident that they're assuming that I'm cis, that they think I am probably born female, right? But to me, that is a purely sociological woman thing happening. Like that has nothing to do with, to me, when we're talking about female and male, we're talking about biological elements. I don't think there's anything social that could be boiled down to being a purely female thing, with the exception of maybe like pregnancy.
Right. But you would understand that like for the average Joe Schmo who still like conflates being transgender with like being gay, they understand gender as a male-female dichotomy. And they don't really understand.
This is actually the issue, Nick, that I might have also spelled your name wrong. Does your name have a K or is it N-I-C?
N-I-C-K, and my pronouns are he/her.
Okay. Oh, he/her or she/her?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I got it wrong. Let me just correct that really quickly. One of the things that I think is that when it comes to the way that we view gender, people in their heads, when they talk to me, they constantly go, oh my gosh, gender is strictly biological. There is no this, there is no that, none of these. Oh man, F this. But realistically, your experience proves that that's not how anybody relates to gender. We relate to gender through, in fact, I'm going to use my cake analogy because I think it's the best analogy I've come up with in weeks. Have you ever watched Is It Cake?
Have I ever watched what?
Is It Cake?
Their videos were people.
Like, is it
yes.
Or is it like a real thing? Those like videos?
Yes.
The way people enact with gender is the way we all kind of enact with those cake videos, right? When you see a really good one, now obviously if you see a really shit one, that's a whole. But when you see one where it's like there are two staplers and they both look like staplers, right? If you're just coming across that video not knowing there's a cake aspect to it, right? Where let's say the cake is sex. So one of the things, the sex is cake. The other thing, their sex is object, right? When you watch that video, you don't fucking know. Like if you don't know it's a cake video, you just assume you're looking at two staplers. Your brain never connects anything else. So when we interact with gender in the wild, that's how our brains do it. Typically, our brains just see someone that aligns with all of the psychosocial schemas that we have around females and women, and our brain just makes a snap decision to go, that's a woman. Doesn't matter what else. Now, obviously, if you think about it, right, that's when people are start saying, they're gonna be like, well, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about. No, our brains just that's how we do for everything we see. Our brains just recall information and then decide, and that's how we interact with gender. So when someone sees you, and you say that a lot of people don't know that you're you said you were male to female transgender. Yeah, most people, if they're looking at you, if they're looking at you and they're just assuming you're cisgender, it's because that's how they interact. That's how people normally interact with gender. You normally don't think about whether someone's trans or cis. You just see them and make a snap decision to go woman, man. And maybe there's something to be said about, like, as a society, we should move away from that. But that's just sort of how we've been for, I don't know how we move away from a way we've been interacting with gender for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
So I guess I would take issue with some of that personally, because to me, that seems really exclusionary to like gender non-conforming or non-binary or people who don't fit these sort of like
it probably
Western
would be
beauty standards.
Yeah, no.
Unless you're just saying that that's how we categorize things, despite it being good or bad.
Well, no, yeah, I'm not making a claim about whether this is a good way or a bad way to do it. I'm just saying this is how the society of humans has been, in at least a Western society, right, has been categorizing and interacting with gender for hundreds of years. And most people still interact this way because they come from a cis-normative education on like what gender is.
I don't know. It's just the way that I like talk to people, like normal, like cishet who just kind of like don't get it. Like they constantly, like their first instinct is to be like male and female. When people talk about women, they call them females. I don't know if you know that, but it's not like they just don't think about it on these gendered terms, like how it would fit like our goals.
Typically when a man is referring to a woman as a female, even if he doesn't realize it, it's a level of dehumanization because it's patriarchal, it's patriarchal conditioning.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people do that. Like I do see it, but I don't know if it's like super universal. I think it's common, but not like universal, I would say.
In the Black community, it is hella.
Oh, okay.
I'm probably just biased. That's just what I've heard people say. It's like, especially, oh my gosh, whenever like I get like hit up by guys and they're like, hey, beautiful, I don't talk to females like this usually. It's like, bitch, you don't know what's up. What are you doing?
I will say,
yeah, it's patriarchy.
I think my experience is very different though. I grew up in a very like small town, very conservative, traditional like performance of gender from pretty much everyone, and everyone talks about like things that make them feel girly or feel like a woman, or things that like, oh, like I love this traditional wedding because it makes me feel like I am like fulfilling a woman's like role or something like that. And I watch a lot of like reality TV, and they talk about those kinds of things a lot. Like, oh, I like how he treats me because it makes me feel like a woman. Like they'll use specifically that language a lot. I don't doubt that female is used, but I'm just saying that I don't know that it's I guess my experience is just very different.
Someone in chat pointed out something very relevant. A lot of men will use the word female to replace using the word bitch. So instead of saying like bitches be crazy, they say females be crazy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I kind of get that. I don't know, but like to some extent, I think it's just a word. I think they mean the same thing when they say women. They're just like conditioned to call them that, and they don't really necessarily like mean it in a dehumanizing way.
I don't think they mean it. I don't think their intent, but I think it's a preconditioned level of patriarchy to condition women to believe that they are lesser than men, so that they can continue to remain in a like subservient position in society. But that's a whole different conversation.
And I'd agree that I think the majority of people, when they're interfacing with concepts like woman and gender and female, that they probably like if the Venn diagram is almost a circle, but I don't think it is a circle. Like I do think that if you really pin down how they use those words, except for in the case of like saying like, oh, like I don't mess with females or whatever, or that kind of like usage. Outside of that, I think when you really pin down the usage, often you'll see that gender terms are used differently from sex terms.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I just wanted to like relate it to my experience of being like assumed female very regularly, and that just like felt different when someone is calling me a woman to be affirming to my gender identity.
Yeah, I mean, if they know you're trans and you think they're just calling you, if they know you're trans and they're just calling you that to affirm you, that is definitely different.
I lost my Discord. I can't. It's
oh
not.
No!
What?
Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, the Discord app is nowhere to be found.
Also, it seems like you're on like way more of a delay than you were a few minutes ago.
Discord app? Okay, Arden, I have to reset my Discord app and then I'll call you right back.
Okay. I think that means I'm going to be on my stream, but I'm probably going to fall off of Jovan's stream for a second.
Wait, it's Discord isn't even in my task manager. What the fuck? Oh, here it is. Okay.
So funny. Oops, I've been moving that window around. Oh no, okay, good. Didn't mess up the crop on OBS. Weird. It still shows me connected, but maybe I should hang up too. Let Jovan call me back. While I talk to you guys. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I think that I definitely see differences in how people use those terms. Not a lot of differences. There's definitely overlap for sure. I think Katie used to say it best, where it's like they're not orthogonal, but they are not synonymous, right? They're not like perfectly the same, and or they're not. What would be like maybe homophones would be a better. Like they're not the same word being used in different, same concept being used with different words, but there is a lot of relation to the words. They're not like completely unrelated just because they're distinct concepts. Probably how I would think about that. Also, to the person in chat who's been saying like socialism is evil or whatever, call in.
If you want to talk about that, call in when we get to office hours. Jesus Christ.
Okay, what time is that? I will definitely call that.
1 p.m. Eastern, so in about an hour.
Okay, I'll call you back then. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm gonna run off for a quick bathroom break too. So if you wanna,
all right, I'll do some housekeeping.
Okay,
guys, Twitch. You are well, are you? Did you hit it? Are you $80? Are you $20 away from getting a giveaway, or did you hit a giveaway? Let me do. Well, I won't know for sure because Arden's also. I'm counting any tip you guys send to Arden as well. So it might be that you guys are almost at a giveaway. YouTube, you guys aren't even close, but thank you to Stephanie for becoming a tier 1 or for sending a gifted tier 1 membership. Debunking Destiny, thank you for the super chat. Nefertiti, thank you for becoming a tier 2 member. D, thank you for the super chat. Oh shit, I didn't realize Arden was here too when I clicked on live. How fun. Knights of Lore, thank you for the 1 month membership. Jay Sicka, thank you for the gifted sub. Said, hey Jovan, first time viewer, saw you on the line and a fan of Arden, despite her differences and her reason that she's wrong. Love you, Sue. Damn. Glad I read that when she was off screen. God damn. That was crazy. Why would I donate you freaks? That makes it sound like you were the way he doubled the you. Why would I donate you freaks? I don't know. You don't have to, motherfucker. I didn't ask you to. Like what? Guys, we're gonna have merch, by the way, for Red Mirror. Specifically, we're gonna have like mugs and stuff. Like, so that's gonna be really fun. I can't wait for that.
I never show off Daphne on Takis, so I figured I would harass her and show her to you guys.
Hey.
Who's my baby? Now I gotta kick you out though, because you're gonna be a terror.
For those of you that are like, oh, when's the Red Mirror content coming? I want to know. I think I might drop a video of me and Steve at IKEA like in the next couple of days. We went to IKEA. So we went to IKEA to find a desk for the Sunday show. And we were like, well, we kind of want a standing desk, right? Because then we can adjust the height to exactly where we want, blah, blah, blah. So we're walking around, a standing desk at IKEA, like $400. Like, damn. I was like, I can't justify spending $400 right now as we're just getting up and running. Like eventually, maybe. So we're walking through IKEA, and I'm like, well, let's just check the as is section because you never know what you're going to find in the as is section. There, sitting in the as is section, is a perfect standing desk for like $200.
Nice.
Now it's a mechanical one, so we have to like mechanically raise it, but I don't care. It was exactly what we needed, and I was like, fuck yeah, good to go. And I was like, let me just get this now, and we're ready.
Yep.
All right, you guys have 50 minutes left of call-ins. I ordered Little Caesars because that square Chicago style pizza really hits. So I said, fuck it, I'm getting this again. Opening up the call-in line. Please only call in if you disagree. If you disagree, please go ahead and give us a call. And we'll get this shit running. Hello, are you here to debate?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Chillin'. Can I get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
My name is Sean. I'm 31. Yeah, you can just put me down as male.
Okay, so you use neo-pronouns? That's very progressive of you, Sean.
No, just normal person. I don't participate in that kind of stuff, so I don't know much about that.
You don't participate in pronouns?
No, in the whole culture of defining pronouns, I try to talk to people as they are, by using their names.
Okay, so you
just don't use pronouns.
I'm a normal guy.
I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna assume. Hold on. I'm gonna assume that you're being genuine here, and I'm gonna say, I'm just asking what your third person pronouns are, so that when the chat refers to you,
my mistake. I apologize.
That's what we're asking. That's whenever anybody asks you,
yeah,
what are your pronouns? They're just asking what your third person pronouns are, so they know how to refer to you in conversation without saying your name over and over and over again. Otherwise, we all sound like cavemen.
That makes sense, and that's a much more eloquent way of putting it. A lot of people don't describe it like that.
All right, so I assume you use he, him pronouns for your third person.
Yeah, you'd be
pronouns.
right. You'd be correct.
All right, great. Okay, what topic on the board did you want to debate about today?
Well, I just wanted to, if I look down the list, let's go with everyone's most popular orange man. Let's go with Trump.
Okay. I'm assuming you voted for Trump in the 2024 election?
I did.
Did you vote for him in 2020?
No, I was deployed.
Okay. What about 2016?
No, I was still deployed. I did a lot of deployments. I was in the military at that time, and voting, if you don't know, in the military is
no problem.
Slightly more difficult.
Yeah. Sure. Did you support him in 2016 when he was president?
I was
in his first term.
I did support him over Hillary, but I wasn't in the game of politics at that time.
Okay. Sure. So then I'll just ask you the question. What is it about Trump specifically? I'd like to know, like, policy wise, what is it about Trump that leads you to still offer him your support as an American citizen?
Well, my support for him over this last election wasn't mainly about his policy. It was mainly about my ire for Kamala Harris because I grew up in California, and I didn't like her positions as when she was a prosecutor. So she destroyed any trust I could have had in her at that time.
Which specific things as prosecutor did you disagree with?
I didn't like the fact that she got caught hiding evidence. I didn't like the
Mhm.
fact that she kept people over their time in prison. I believe when you've done your time and you paid your set debt to society, all should be forgiven and you should be able to move on with your life and be a productive member of society and not be harassed forever. And I damn sure don't believe that you should be held in longer. I think
Mhm.
as a society, we should have a capacity for forgiveness.
Okay. So, and you believe that this was more important than basically anything else in the election, I'm assuming.
It was my major decision as to not being able to trust her.
Hmm.
It had nothing to do with her being a female. It had nothing to do with this whole Willie Brown bullshit nor this typical attack you hear about people calling her. So
Okay. So here's what I'm going to say. So first of all, I like to preface any conversation I have regarding the Democrats that I'm not a fan of the Democrats. I'm not a fan of Kamala Harris. I do think when it comes to policy positions, Kamala Harris was easily had over Trump in like every single person, right? I think I like in every position I felt like Kamala Harris had a better policy position than Donald Trump, right? So
can I ask a question about that?
yeah, sure.
So I'll start with, I'll preface this by saying I feel like in every single one of their rallies, both of them failed to nail down the details of their policy.
I would disagree with that
policy
wholeheartedly.
do you have a one-to-one comparison of policy, like something that they were opposite on that you would give me an example of so I can understand your point?
Sure. And when it comes to increasing homeownership rates, Trump believes the way to do this is by removing red tape on private home ownership. And the building of homes. So he believes that privatizing this more and allowing the private sector more freedom is going to lead to more home ownership in the United States. Where Kamala believes the best way, or believed the best way to incentivize home ownerships was to give first-time homebuyers tax credits. Specifically, I think she was 25,000 for a first-time homebuyer tax credit, right? Because she believes that the way for people to buy homes would be, because we already have a litany of homes on the market. So the best way to get them into those homes would be to not only get them the money that they need to get into the homes, but she also believed that it was uh, she believed in limiting the amount of private equity firms that could buy up single family units to then like rent them. So she also believed in that. I believe when looking at these two policies, we've seen no relevant change in homeownership when the privatization, or when we allow for the private sector to like get more into to like giving them more leeway on building. We actually see the opposite because it's the private equity firms that then go and buy up that property. So I don't think Trump's plan would, and we see this now. Like we haven't seen any change in homeownership numbers. So we haven't seen a significant change in homeownership numbers. So I don't believe his plan is currently working. And if we hit the recession that is being predicted right now, we're really not going to see it work. People are going to start losing their homes.
Okay. Do you think we're already in a recession?
No, we're in there's something that comes before a recession that I think we're in. I think we've officially moved into that. Let me see.
We can look it up. We have the technology. We can find out together.
I mean, recession is technically like negative growth over, right?
Yeah,
it's negative inflation.
I think contraction is where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which contraction is like a period of like decline in economic activity, which we're slowly seeing, which is reduction in GDP, an increase in the deficit. We're seeing grocery prices go, like inflation is still rising, so people are spending less. So I actually think we're in the contraction stage right now. But no, I wouldn't say we're in a recession currently. No, I don't think we've hit that.
Although I think a lot of economists think we're very much so at risk of going into a recession in the near future.
Yeah, I don't remember what the current estimate is, but I think it's 2026. They're estimating that if we're going to see those recession indicators pop up, it's going to like majorly hit us then. But there could also be, there could be a shift and change in anything could happen. There could be something that happens that like if Trump decides, hey, I'm putting 150% tariffs on literally everybody, we'll probably see it sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If he stops going back and forth on the tariffs.
I have a question about your perspective on the whole tariff thing. I know it's a bold statement. It's a bold thing. It's a concept to grasp. But a lot of people don't like it. But did it bring different countries to the table? And that factually, yes, different countries did come to the table, and people would say he backed down on his tariffs, which by definition he did back down on his tariffs, but he backed down on his tariffs after getting economic agreement signed, which is true.
Well, we were already
So
we were already in talks with those countries. Like there wasn't a single country that like came to the table that wasn't already at the table. China's been at the
yeah,
table
but
for
the
like
tariffs
3
worked
years.
as a what's the word I'm looking for? As not I don't like saying ammo because that's still my military mind, so I'm trying to get away from it now that I'm retired.
his idea, or no, this wasn't his idea. I think this is the idea of his cabinet, maybe.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to back down on those tariffs. He wants those tariffs implemented. He doesn't care. I think his cabinet recognizes, like, well, let's just at least try to use them as a bargaining tool.
Okay.
And you can tell this when you listen
think
to the
that,
way he
but do you
talks
have any
about.
proof of that?
I just think when you listen to the way he talks about tariffs, he doesn't understand that he doesn't even understand that he still believes that the tariff is paid by the country you tariff. Like he was saying shit like this 2 months ago, right? He
on its
hasn't.
face a tariff by that, but everybody
the
knows
problem
that a
is
business
he's
can write
bringing
off
countries
expenses to the people consumer.
He's
Everyone
also
knows
trying
that
to
a
use them to
business can do
negotiate
that.
with countries that have a trade deficit, or not a trade deficit, a trade the opposite of a trade deficit.
It's a
Countries that
bargaining
have
tool.
yeah, but
That's
why are
how
we
he- that's-
bargaining
in
with
my opinion,
countries
that's
that have
how
a
he's
trade
using it.
surplus with us? Why are we bargaining with those countries? Those countries
Because
shouldn't
there's
get a
always a
tariff.
better
There's a
deal to get made.
surplus.
It'd be
Wait, what's
naive for
better
us
than
to
a
say that there
what's
isn't
better than a
countries that take
surplus,
advantage
Sean?
of America consumer. We have the largest consumer market in the world.
Wait, but what's better than a trade surplus?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
What is better than a trade surplus with us?
You just said we were in a trade deficit, I thought.
No. There are countries that we have trade. It goes by country. Some countries were in a trade deficit where we buy more than they get, but there are plenty of countries that buy more from us than we take from them. And he's trying to
Okay,
tariff those countries too. So why are we tariffing
Okay,
countries that we have a
let's-
positive trade interaction with?
Let's look at the motivation why he would do these tariffs and why he does it boastingly. His fan base mostly are people who are pissed off that all the manufacturing stuff is no longer in America. Is that true? Yeah, I believe that's true. I think you would concede that that
I
is
think
true.
they
right?
I think they have a misunderstanding of U.S. manufacturing, but yeah,
I know, but
that
I'm
on their
just saying.
face,
I'm
that on
just
the face
saying.
is what they
A
say.
lot of
yeah.
his fan base thinks that.
Sure,
They
yeah,
believe that.
sure.
So when he does these tariffs, he uses that as a reinforcement of their own beliefs, which is what a lot of Republicans and Democrats need to do to maintain their fan base. Is that true or not?
Sure. So we're just saying he's
Okay, so
he's
that's
messing up
why he's
trade
doing that. That's
to
why
stay
he's
in
he's
power?
standing up on his soapbox and saying, "Look what I'm doing. Look, I'm trying to be manufacturing back." And they don't ride into the details. A lot of the fans don't want to go in and do the details and the work of finding that. They don't care about the nuance of it.
I don't
Okay,
remember
so he's
exactly
just
what it was,
yeah.
but doesn't a lot of the polling that shows that people want the manufacturing jobs also show that when you ask them if they would want to work those manufacturing jobs, that the overwhelming majority of them are like super opposed to that?
Do you have that poll that we can look up?
Well, I don't even.
I
Probably
don't
put it on
off the
screen.
top of my
need
hand.
that- I don't even think we need
Find
that
it.
poll. I think it's if it is the case that he's just doing it because his base doesn't understand stuff and he wants his base to support him, then we know for a fact that he doesn't understand tariffs and he's willing to harm the U.S. economy just to please his base, which I think is I think is a reason we probably shouldn't support him at that point.
Well, whether we support him or not right now, that's not going to change the fact that he is there for 3 years. I
Sure,
will
but
say there's
the
people who have
question
left his
the question
support
on the
umbrella,
board
and there's people
is
who are coming to his support umbrella.
sure. The question on the board though is why do you still support him? Right. That's the question that I'm posing here.
Well, my biggest thing for supporting him was the Doge agenda. That was the biggest thing because working for the government for the 12 years before I got injured, I can tell you right now, this idea of spending all the money given to you in your budget, there's an absolute fear in all government agencies that if you do not spend all the money, you will not get as much. So in the last final parts of the year, they waste the money on ridiculous things. It's an absolute fact. It's not up for debate. I experienced it. And granted, my experience is anecdotal. I will say that my experience is anecdotal, but working on multiple warships in multiple different logistics situations, they do that. They waste a lot of money. So that was honestly something that I resonated with, was finding out exactly where our money went and where our money.
So the problem is
going.
Doge didn't do that. Doge didn't cut things we didn't know about. Doge was cutting congressionally approved spending, right? Spending that Congress not
Did
only
they cut
approved
or
but
pause
was.
it and set it for a revote.
I'm sorry, say that again.
So what did Congress and the House just vote on? The Doge cuts.
No, they voted on the budget bill. The budget bill and
part
the
of that
Doge cuts
was
are different.
the
Like
was it presented.
Doge cutting U.S. aid is illegal because U.S. aid was a congressional. Like they have Doge effectively didn't like is
What did they
operating
cut in
out.
USAID that was illegal?
Well, cutting any congressionally approved spending is illegal.
Mhm.
Congress has to cut congressionally approved spending. The executive branch.
So Congress approves a budget.
Yes.
Take me through the process. Congress approves of the budget. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And those different companies, do they have to spend? Are they legally required to spend all that money on that thing?
They're well, yeah.
The governmental organizations, yeah.
They're required to spend whatever they're required to spend the stuff Congress approved them for.
I
But then
think you're
they can
mistaking
create.
required with the ability to. I think you're mistaking those two things.
I'm not.
The ability to do something and the requirement to do something.
I'm not. They don't have to spend it all, right? They can
Okay,
have
so they're not
excess.
legally required to do it.
To spend it. No, they don't have
Yes.
to spend all of it. They can
So-
end the year with more budget, with like more, or they can end the year with money that they didn't spend.
So
Yeah.
determine based off their budget what is necessary, what is not necessary at any point in that calendar or that calendar year, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So if Congress approves X amount of dollars, let's say they approve $100 for this company to use throughout the entire
Sure.
calendar year
Sure.
or fiscal year, excuse me.
Sure.
All right. And say throughout that fiscal year, they have 5 programs. They choose to spend $70 on 3 of the programs, but they choose the other 2 programs they didn't want to spend money on. So they have this excess amount of money. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Why is that wrong? Because that's in layman's terms what Doge was doing, was saying that these programs were not worth the taxpayers' dollars.
Because Doge can't decide what they spend the funding on. Doge is not those programs, and Congress didn't give Doge the authority to decide that. Congress gives the
Okay, but
authority
did
to decide where
president
the
have
budget
authority
goes.
to decide what?
No, the
Does
president doesn't have the
president
authority to do that either.
over USAID.
No,
Does the
not for budget.
executive-
Not budget. Not for budget. Budget is Congress. Constitutionally, the budget is Congress. Not the president has no
I know.
budget making power.
Finalizing how much money goes where is Congress's job. I agree with that. But deciding how that money is spent in those different agencies, who's in charge of that?
It depends on who's the front of USAID, and I think USAID reports to Congress. Do they not?
Let's find out. Let's Google it today. We can learn this together. This is where a lot of this nuance and a lot of these issues come to fight because a lot of people don't understand. Okay, the USAID is an
Senate.
agency within the executive branch. It's just a quick Google search that I'm doing on my stream right now. Okay.
Well, then
So,
let's see.
if it is under the executive branch,
well, no, it's pretty easy. We just check if the if in the law the president has the power to not re-budget, so remove budget. So if the president
I'm not
has the
saying
power
they're
to
not.
remove
They
the
didn't
budget.
remove budget though.
They did remove
said
budget.
what they would pay for within the approved budget, and they said these programs were not worth paying for in the approved budget. They didn't lower the budget.
No, the Trump
They didn't
administration.
take money away from the
no, the
budget.
Trump administration proposed cuts to foreign aid, including restructuring of USAID. It was a reduction of 6.3 billion from the budget, and then
Was it a
And then
reduction?
it didn't get.
Okay, if they removed the money from the budget, where'd the money go?
You
Did
tell
that
us.
money? My question is, did that money stay at the possible use of USAID? Did they cut the program, or did they actually take that money from the budget and return it to Congress?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. They cut funding and operations at USAID. Let me see how much. Give me 1 second. I hate when the article says you have to be a part of.
I understand, man. Take your time, please. There's no
Be
rush.
quiet.
I'm
Don't-
trying to be
don't
friendly.
tell
If
me
I
I
come
have
off
to
rude,
join.
please tell me because I'm trying to.
Yeah, I just need the exact.
present
I don't have the
nicer.
exact number. I'm just trying to pull up the exact number.
I know, because my major point is I think people are mistaking cutting the budget with cutting a program, and there's a vast difference.
Okay, so just really quickly, they tried to freeze the budget. They haven't been able to do that because the district courts put a restraining order on that because it's illegal for Trump to freeze the budget of USAID. So that was in February. And then what happened was, a second, I'm just going through the timeline. The Supreme Court granted a stay on the freeze. And then the government, in Defendant's Exhibit B, in the Supreme Court case, United States Department of State versus Donald J. Trump, the court documents revealed that they cut approximately, while by the way there was a stay, while there was a freeze on while there was a court order saying they were not allowed to freeze the budget, they cut the budget during that.
Okay, what does that mean? They cut. What is it saying? Does it give an example of how they cut the budget? Does it give numbers and saying where they took the money from? Because cutting the budget means they took X amount of dollars from the overall pot of money and moved it somewhere else.
I'm sorry, they terminated the majority of U.S. aid and State Department foreign aid grants and contracts.
Okay,
that was
so that's February a program. 26. That's not a budget.
No. Yes, no. That's why I said it was my mistake. It was that they cut the program.
I understand. I feel like I'm being. I feel like I'm being rude. I apologize if I'm being rude.
Let's see. I'm just going through the timeline. After that, there was more stuff in court with Rubio. Blah 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 blah.
Okay, can I read something I found real quick? I don't want to be rude.
Sure. No, go ahead.
So, examples of programs and agencies affected. This is just straight Google AI synopsis. U.S. agencies and international development, USAID, has experienced significant cuts, roughly 83% of its programs being cut in March, including the termination, and then it lists the programs. And it's not the only agency. So it seems that DOGE is actually cutting programs and not removing money from budgets, but people are going to court and people are making a fuss saying that they're cutting the budget when that's not accurate. It's almost like they're lying intentionally or obfuscating intentionally to rile people up. Was that something you would say this could be true? I'm not saying it is a fact. I'm saying it's something that could be true.
Give me 1 second. 1 second.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to weigh in on this stuff because I'm not quite as educated on all the details and numbers.
I would say yes, but I don't think Trump has the power as of 1998 with the Foreign Affairs Reform and Restructuring Act, because it looks like during that section, Congress established USAID as its own agency. So I don't know that he has the power to cut programs left and right, and I think that's why it's currently being challenged in court. So different than what we were saying, but it looks like that might be where the court issue is.
All right, but my main question is it's not my main question. A question I have is, do you think it's a good idea if a program is not fruitful or if a program is not producing the desired effect to potentially cut that program?
No, I think we have attorney generals for that. Like, that's the whole point of the attorney general process, is to do overviews each year and look at where the waste is coming in, and they usually do a pretty good job of that.
Do they? Because we have
a
massive deficit. I would say they're doing a terrible job in the last.
But our deficit comes from Trump implementing more spending than he is taking in revenue.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I'm not saying the entire. I didn't say the entire deficit is. I'm saying a good chunk of the deficit is from people mismanaging money and putting money where it doesn't come back.
Yeah, I would disagree.
You disagree. You disagree that our deficit isn't from wasting money.
Yeah. It's not a waste of money. It's that we're cutting our revenue. We have the money. We're cutting revenue.
Okay. So cutting cost versus cutting revenue. Is that what you're saying? They're cutting revenue instead of cutting cost.
Yeah. When you remove revenue and you raise spending, you're going to have a deficit.
Okay. Let's find out. Let's look up how much revenue USAID has raised.
What do you mean? How much revenue? USAID doesn't raise revenue. The government raises revenue and then gives it to USAID.
So they are cutting costs by removing these programs.
Homie, what are you talking about? I'm saying none of the removal of these programs have accounted for the amount of money that Trump has spent.
I'm not saying it did. I'm saying by removing these programs that they are cutting costs. Simply by definition, they are cutting costs of programs that are not proving fruitful and that are not proving to get the job done.
Not proving fruitful from whose determination?
By not reaching the goal of the program.
Wait, what is the goal of USAID?
Let's look it up. Let's look up their mission statement. Let's look it up. I understand why you're being broad.
Well,
I'm saying these individual programs that are being cut are being determined by by DOGE to not be worth, the juice is not worth the squeeze, is a vernacular I'll use. They're saying they're not worth the effort and they're not worth the cost. and then it goes under review, which it just did. The Doge cuts did just get voted on in the House, be implemented into the next year's budget.
Yeah. So my question again is, what is the purpose of USAID?
All right, I'll read it to you right now. USAID's mission is to partner to an extreme poverty and promote resilient democratic societies while advancing U.S. security and prosperity. So if they have a program, let's look at some of the programs that were.
Hold on, I gotta get my pizza, Arden. I'm sorry, but you gotta keep talking.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love pizza, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have nearly as much as Jovan to offer on this. I mean, I talk about these things to some degree, but yeah, I definitely came here expecting to talk about trans issues, so my brain is not on an economic, political.
I don't think there's been enough data on trans issues for anybody to make a sound statement. I think people who are adults should make their own decisions.
Well, let's not even open that can of worms, because it's such a sidetrack from the conversation we're actually having, and there's already so much in that one sentence that I would take issue with. So I'd rather we just don't even open that can of worms and call back another time, or wait till we're totally done with this topic to open that can of worms.
Yeah, no problem. I got you. Ugh.
Yeah, I wish.
I saw you had a couple. I saw you had a couple reptiles. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I keep lots of snakes. I've got several different species. There's lizards in most of these, and then a few snakes.
Yeah, my girlfriend and her son, they just rescued 7 tadpoles that all turned into healthy frogs yesterday.
Cool.
Pretty
sorry about that. Yeah, I would just ask really quickly, Sean, what programs specifically were cut from USAID? Like what programs and grants?
I'll pull it up for us right now. Cut by. Give me 1 second, it's loading.
Perplexity is saying emergency food aid, public health initiatives, climate environmental programs, LGBTQ and gender equity initiatives. Those are just some of the first ones.
Those are broad categories. I'm talking about actual titles of actual programs. Those are just categories.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'm looking up the information for you right now because I'm not a syllabus on Doge's actions. I'm just saying I understand their mission, and I agree with it.
Because I'm saying, if USAID, if their point is to, if the point of that program is to foster help for countries that are economically disadvantaged, and we remove programs that do that, you support that.
So how many of these countries where this money is sent to do a certain mission is not used for that mission?
What does that have to do with anything?
That's called, so like I'm saying, how many of these politicians in these countries who receive X amount of funds, because we're not sending fucking graham crackers over there to feed people. We're not sending MREs. We're not sending foods and chefs. We're sending money so that they can purchase these things in a lot of cases, in most cases. And a lot of the time, this money doesn't get spent on what it's for.
Okay.
We all know this.
What's the evidence of that?
All right. Well, let's pull that
Wasn't
up
there
too.
like multiple tons of food for USAID that was going bad?
We need to see the evidence that the money that they sent is not going to paying what they are saying that they're paying. Which
okay, do you have evidence showing that they are doing that? We can play that game if you want.
Nope. You are making
that whole.
Wait. You are making the positive claim.
High tag. I asked first.
No. Wait, Sean. You can't pull that. You're claiming.
No, you did though.
No, I didn't. All I'm doing is saying the money is going here. We have attorney generals who look at USAID every year, and they haven't said that a bulk of this money is being spent somewhere that it shouldn't be. So now you have to provide the proof that it is. Otherwise, we're cutting a program based on.
What you're doing is you're tagging home base and saying, "Prove to me this," so you don't have to.
You're doing a speculative argument. You're saying we should cut this,
and you're using a speculative request.
No, I'm not.
You don't have to show any evidence.
I'm not. What are you talking about? That's not how this works.
It is on both of us.
No, the burden of proof is 100% just on you.
because you want to sit
If
on this
I
higher
said,
pedestal. And say
wait,
that.
wait, Sean, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. If I were to go, hey, we should close my son's school because there's a little gnome who lives in the walls and every day he comes out and kicks kids in the shin. And you said, well, Jovan, prove that happens. And I go, well, you prove it didn't happen. That's what you're doing. The burden
That's
of proof
exactly
is
what you're doing.
100%. There's no way.
You're
Somebody paid to boot and I'm going to just take it. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way, bro.
Yeah, I feel so sorry I was leaving you alone on that, but I was like,
what?
This guy is asking for like hardline facts and data, and I'm like, I don't have that information just on hand, you know?
This thing isn't happening. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's proving a negative. Definitely. Burden of proof is on the claimant, always. He tried to get into the quality of evidence on trans care while you were gone for a second, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, no. We're not opening that can of worms right now.
Happen is the craziest shit, bro.
I like to debate, but I don't like to shift gears that radically in the middle of a conversation. My brain cannot handle it. Like everything that I know would instantly vaporize in my skull, like just completely gone. Yeah, somebody in my chat was also saying he's arguing a lot of semantics, like program cuts versus budget cuts. I was going to point that out, that it felt kind of like, sure, if they're cutting a program, maybe that's not technically cutting a budget, but isn't that functionally the outcome? Like, you're cutting the program that's receiving money that was allocated via a budget to this program. But anywho,
Twitch won a t-shirt. Twitch gets a t-shirt giveaway.
Hell yeah. Starting office hours and probably got time for 1 or 2 calls before office hours.
Oh, let me just get water and then we'll do office hours. Tell people another fact about snakes.
Snakes? Let's see. What snake facts do I have on hand? God, I don't fucking know, man. Listen, snakes are cool. That's my snake fact. You guys are missing out. Citrine, who I had out earlier, they have these little pits in the side of their face that are called heat pits. And that's actually a big part of how they see. Their vision isn't very good, but they can sense movement through their jawbones, which goes to their eardrums. They don't have an external ear. And then, yeah, they can use both their sense of scent and their heat pits to help them locate animals. I always wonder what it's like to be a snake. You know, like people will say like, oh, it's like, so, there is something that it's like to be an ant or a worm or whatever. And I'm like, the snake's sense of the world is so cool because they have vision, but it's not very good. But they have a way more robust, like, concept of other elements of the world. So, like, how they experience reality is just so fundamentally different from us. And it's really interesting. Do rock facts? Rocks are atheists. There's your rock fact.
That's a rock fact. Was that a I forgot the name of the TV show. What's that Cartoon Network show that's beautiful to watch on Halloween? It was a miniseries.
Oh, the one that's like CG
Over
animation?
Over the Garden Wall.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that.
The rock fact thing?
No, not intentionally. It's been a while since I saw that, but it's just like an atheist community joke. Because for years, people would like get really angry over whether or not rocks are technically atheists. Because sometimes people consider atheism to be like sort of an implicit position. Like if you lack a belief, anything that lacks a belief could be considered an atheist. Like typically we'd say babies are atheists, even if they're born into Christian households, because they don't have the capacity to evaluate the proposition yet, and therefore they are default atheists. And so you could consider a rock atheist by that. But then lots of people get really mad because they're saying that rocks don't have the capacity to consider propositions, to be convinced or not convinced of propositions. So, yes.
Let's take the next call.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
It was me. I just thought it would be funny to say that you did, and then nobody laughed. So.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. I guess my jokes aren't funny.
Your jokes suck. No, I'm just kidding.
Damn.
Tell us about having snakes when you have a cat. Yeah, you definitely don't want. So we've trained our cat to not go on top of the enclosures most of the time. We use like an air spray can, so you don't spray her, but it's just a loud sound. It scares her, and she knows that sound is like the get down sound. Um, so, but it is a little bit hard. You do have to protect your reptile from stress and anxiety as a result of the cat. I would say most of the time, if there's no risk of like, so Daphne's not allowed in here 90% of the time. There's stops on the door, so even if a reptile gets down, they can't get out to where Daphne is, right? But we do have snakes downstairs where Daphne can see them, but she doesn't seem to care that much. Um, but definitely there's like, we've had to move some animals because she was able to get up to them too much and it was clearly stressing them out. So yeah,
By
you
the way,
have
y'all,
to.
the call line is open for anybody that wants to debate.
There's been a guy in my chat who's been, he was telling me that my shirt is like a man shirt and that I should buy those like wolf shirts too that are kind of similar because that would be very female of me.
What is a man shirt?
He also kept saying like socialism is evil and things like that, and I told him to call in,
Oh
but
my God, true.
so far he
If by
hasn't.
evil you mean the only economic plan that would work.
Is this him?
Hello, are you here to debate?
I'm sorry?
Are you here to debate?
Oh, yeah, I am.
Okay, what's your name, age, and pronouns?
I'm Chris. I'm 21 years old, and I use he, him pronouns.
Okay, and Chris, what topic did you want to debate about?
Well, I know we only have 14 minutes left, and my phone's on 15% battery. So, what about Christianity is terrible?
Oh, well, I'll absolutely. I don't know, Arden, I don't know if you saw I added that to the list.
Oh yeah, no, I'm so down for Christianity is terrible.
All right, Arden, you can take this. I feel like I've been talking the most. You take this one.
No, it's okay. Yeah, why don't you tell us? So you're saying you think Christianity is good or at least not terrible, yeah? Why don't you elaborate on that and then we'll dig in.
Yeah, sure. So, my view of Christianity is that it is overall a net positive in terms of belief, but I would find it difficult to debate currently as it is because I would like to know specifics of what you would think is terrible about it.
I mean, pretty much everything from top to bottom. Like, I definitely agree that I think churches tend to do a lot of like community activism, and that's probably pretty good for society by and large, but that's not really dependent on Christianity. That's just dependent on community. I think Christianity itself, one of the biggest problems I see with it is like the threat of hell for all eternity for sincere disbelief. You know, people who like or the non-combatant non-believer. Basically, I'm not convinced that a God exists, right? But if sufficient evidence appeared to convince me, I might not worship the God, but I would believe that God exists. So I'm not like resistant to believing in God. I just haven't been convinced. And according to the Bible, for that reason, I'm going to hell. And what I'm convinced of is not something I have control over, right? That's not a choice. And if you believe in like a God who is all powerful and all knowing, created the universe, right? Before time existed, before made sense. This God saw that I would exist, saw that I'd be a non-combatant non-believer, could have created a world where I was a believer, but actively chose to create the world where I'm a non-combatant non-believer and is going to punish me for that. That is completely his fault. I have no choice in that. And he's going to send me to be tortured for all eternity for a choice that he made that I didn't make. That's super fucking immoral. And that's like the entire framework of punishment under the Bible. So that's evil. It endorses slavery. It endorses beating slaves as long as they don't die. It endorses women as second-class citizens. It endorses like stoning gay people and, you know, like children who are disobedient to their mothers and things like that, or their parents. Like pretty much top to bottom, the Bible has, you know, from the perspective of an all-knowing God, has opportunities to elaborate and elucidate on things that we agree pretty universally in modern society are on what is moral and immoral, and takes the opposite position of all those things. So, like, there's so many ways in which I think Christianity is evil. Yeah.
That makes sense. I certainly don't blame you for that at all in any way. I certainly picked a good time to come in with 10 minutes for leaving. But probably should pick one topic. Do you have like any preference on which one you'd most like to debate?
I mean, of the other topics, or digging into this one more?
Just in general, for Christianity is terrible, since you did bring up a lot of
Sure.
very, very valid arguments
Do you
that
think?
would probably take at least 40 minutes.
Do you believe in an all-powerful and perfectly good God, all-knowing and perfectly good God?
I would say that, yeah.
So why does God let children starve to death? Lots of children starve to death every day. Children in Gaza are getting bombed, limbs destroyed and blown up. Why does God allow that to happen if he's all-knowing, all-powerful, and perfectly good?
Mm-hmm. That is a very, very commonly debated question. Why does God let bad things happen to good people? And to be frank, I don't have a very definitive answer on that, so I apologize for that.
Then, can I ask you then,
that.
Chris, to interrupt? Can I ask then, how could you say that you believe in a God that is all-knowing, all-powerful, and perfectly good if you don't have a good response to me? I would, if you take that position and you agree that you can't find a good answer for how starving children to death and having them blown up in a genocide is possibly a good thing, how could you say that you believe in an all-knowing, all-powerful, perfectly good God? Those things sound mutually exclusive to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that point. My reservation comes in the fact that I know that I'm not knowledgeable on this one specific topic, and that I know other people have debated it much better than I have debated it, or can debate it with my limited knowledge.
Can I ask a question
on the subject? Oh, hello.
Yeah, I had a quick question.
Yeah,
and why, like, if God exists, why can't he just prove it? How come in the Old Testament he proved it all the time? He talked to people so often, and or did literal magic, right? Like if Moses went to the Jews and was like, guys, I talked to God, we're all chill, this is how we're gonna get out, and they'd be like, we don't believe you. He's like, okay, well, I'm gonna send a plague of locusts, and boom, I'm gonna turn my stick into a snake, boom, I'm gonna literally part the sea. At that point I'd be like, well, God definitely exists,
right?
Why doesn't he do that now?
Sorry, I hope you don't mind if I give myself a second to think real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I believe the best. I think the reason why he doesn't immediately just show like as an example of like all powerful God. I believe the reason why he doesn't essentially say, "Hey guys, I'm God. I'm coming down to the earth and letting you know that I am God. Worship me," or what have you, is that he wants people to choose out of faith, which that is a big part of Christianity.
Why?
But he didn't, though. But even then, he didn't. He let Jesus perform miracles.
Yep.
So how come? Like, oh, go ahead, Arden.
I was just going to say, yeah. And Paul, the Apostle Paul, who wrote the majority of the New Testament, was a non-believer until Jesus appeared to him on the Damascus Road and said, hey, I know you're doubting me, but here I am. Look at me. I've got the holes in my hands. I'm the magic God man. Now you can go forth and spread my word. And that's what Paul did. Why don't we get a Damascus Road experience?
It would literally take one miracle, by the way.
Yeah.
If somebody if God said, I'm going to give another person Moses' staff, and and this person said, hey guys, I'm gonna part the Hudson River because God gave me the power to do so, and I watched him part the Hudson River, I would instantly go, well, God's real. God damn, okay.
Doesn't
I
mean
would
we'd
still have to
worship
have
him.
faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would still have to have faith. Like knowing he's real and worshiping him and having faith in him are two totally different things.
Yep. God appears before multiple people in the Bible who don't immediately then like worship him. So it's not like people will often make an apologetic on this to say that it violates our free will, but that's clearly not true even within the Bible.
You might know if I asked what's the question right now?
Why doesn't he show himself?
Okay.
Is he a little shy?
In that case, I think I hope I didn't go in a circle here, but the reason why he hasn't shown himself in a very deliberate way is I believe that he is wanting. Do you know about the Great Commission?
Yes.
And like the end of Matthew.
Yep.
I think the reason why is because he wants his followers to go out and participate in the saving of others, and that go out.
Why would he
so
want that? Why would he want his participants to do that?
Especially if humans are like fallible creatures. That seems like a really bad. Like I wouldn't send salesmen that are really bad at sales to sell my products. If anything, I would send the angels, right?
Because like a lot of the time, the reason people give for Chris, and you can, if this isn't the way you feel, let me know. But a lot of the time, the reason people give is because they're like, oh, well, God wants to know you. God wants to have a relationship with you, right?
Oh, kinky.
Well, if God wants to know me, wants to have a relationship with me, why is he sending the least reliable narrator? That to me doesn't sound like someone who wants to get to know me. If like, I'm trying to think, there's a good analogy that's been used on a lot of our shows about like getting a letter from your dad, right? But if it's like, if I'm getting this letter in the mail and I don't know where it's from, and it says it's from my dad, and that like one day we'll meet after I'm dead, but I just have to do these things that he's asking, should I like, that's not a very reliable person, right? To take information from. I think if God really wants to know me, God should be able to just show himself.
But also, if God really wants to know us, shouldn't he just know us? Why does he even have to talk to us to know us? Wouldn't God, at least this doesn't make sense to me. If his whole thing is, it can't be both. It can't be you have to worship me to get in, or you have to be good to get in. It can't be both. Right? Typically the worship is over the good. So you can do evil your whole life, but if at the end of your life you truly change and come to God, you get into heaven. But I can be good my entire life. I could cure cancer. I could invent a way for every human to never feel pain ever again. I could save every puppy, end world hunger, fix world thirst. I could do all of this. But if I don't believe in God, I go to hell? That just seems like a really terrible system.
When you describe it like that, that makes sense. However, I do feel like there is a little bit of a misconception in what you stated.
What's the misconception?
A common misconception that I've seen and that I actually know about is that people associate, say, being good and worship with going to heaven, as if that is like how do I want to put this? You don't have to. I don't think you'd have to literally show up every single Sunday and worship or what have you to get into heaven. I do believe that, and keep in mind, however, that this similar debate has been taking place over the course of about 2-ish or 17-ish hundred years with denominations popping up. But I do believe that there is a sorry.
So I can just jump in really quick. I don't think anybody is saying that in order to get to heaven that you have to go to church every day and that you have to be the best little Christian and that you have to, have your prayer closet or anything like that. But the Bible explicitly says that, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. And there's definitely multiple Bible verses that indicate not believing in God, not following the Gospels is going to send you to hell. So it is mere disbelief puts you at risk of eternal torment.
For that specific verse of only the fool believes that there is no God, I don't think that's saying specifically there is no God, as in there is specifically not a Christian God. I believe that is saying that only the fool says in their heart that there is no God, as in there is no a supernatural force that created the universe. But that would probably go into a different debate topic. I don't know if you want to touch on.
No,
Well,
also chat's telling me they can't
unfortunately-
hear me now, but my audio is coming through and you can clearly hear me, so I don't know what that is.
You're coming through on my end too.
Yeah, let me test this.
I can hear you perfectly fine.
But yeah, Chris, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for debates today. So we do got to move. We do got to move on to office
I'm sorry
hours.
I'm sorry I wasn't too knowledgeable on a lot of the debate topics. If opportunity arises again, I'll be sure to be more prepared for next time. I apologize.
No problem. Thanks for calling in.
Okay,
And,
I
have a good
tested. Audio
day.
is fine. People are saying they can hear me. I don't know what that chatter thought. Also, I gotta
that
pee
might
again
be
before we do office hours. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I
go pee.
drank an entire
Yeah,
energy drink.
I'm gonna get it set up. No worries. All right, YouTube, we are moving on to office hours. Office hours do take place on Twitch exclusively. So thank you for listening. If you're on the YouTube page, you guys have a great rest of your day. I will see you Saturday, I think. I don't know if that'll be on tomorrow, but I might be on tomorrow. We'll find out. Bye, YouTube. If you want office hours, come to Twitch. It's a Twitch exclusive. Gang, gang. Bye. All right, Twitch office hours time. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to give a strict 5-minute timeline for office hours. So if it's just a question, drop the question. Then me and Arden will answer it in the we'll answer it and then get to the next call. If it's like a detailed question, you'll have like 5 minutes to get the question out. But we're gonna try to stick to like 5 minutes per question. Okay. Does that make sense? Now, nobody, okay, listen, I'm gonna use something, and I know, but also it's fine. It's totally fine. Okay. That's what I want to do. You know what I see Arden got her headphones back in. You know what I need?
What?
I need Jimmy to give me a show on the line that I can call office hours. That's a pretty good name for a show, not gonna lie.
I like the name for sure. You've got good names. Like the Weekly Down, that's pretty good. I fuck with that.
Weekly Down was great. And then who was it? It was Jess gave us a really good fucking tagline for it. It's that is your number 2 source of news, which is so good.
I love
that I
that.
peed myself.
That's
It's, like,
definitely got to
so
be a
good, I
shirt.
would
Oh my god.
peed myself. Yeah, no, I cooked with that one.
Oh, that's amazing.
Absolutely cooked with that
I
one.
feel like I'm terrible with names. I'm always like, but does the meaning get across? And I can just never sort it out. I like it just doesn't.
Go look at the office hours board
Office hours board. Wait, where do I see that?
on my Twitch.
Oh, oh, that's a cute little drawing illustration thing.
I was already Spider-Man, so I was like, I'll just make Arden a superhero too.
I love it. I'm Snake Lady.
Nobody asked how I made it. Don't ask. I'm going to hell.
How dare you?
I can't call in at the moment, but if you're able to answer question in chat, something I've not been able to wrap my head around is why transracial is not a thing. Like, I'm trans, I'm coming from this in good faith. Okay, hold on. I'm not going to get the whiteboard. It's too much. It's covered with a bunch of shit. Gender is an internal quality. Race is an external quality. That's why. Gender is a quality of the self. Race is a quality placed upon you by society.
Yep.
That would be the big difference. You're gonna get 5 minutes, guys. 5 minutes per call. So please be concise and to the point on your calls. Okay. Be concise. Be to the point. We'll answer your questions, but you're only gonna have 5 minutes. So if you're like, here's the question, and then you are like, and then we'll see you later, then that's great.
Sweet.
Can you restate your response to people who say that business owners risk for their business and deserve it because they risked? Fuck their risk. No, we're gonna do the giveaway before we leave. Before we end the stream, we're gonna do the giveaway. I'm gonna let Arden do the giveaway.
Ooh.
All right, call in line is open. First come, first serve for office hours. You get 5 minutes per call. Damn. It's like 3 people called at once and it hung up on like 2 of them. Hello, are you here for office hours?
I am.
Okay, can I just get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Absolutely. My name is Lola. I'm 29 and my pronouns are she, they.
Okay, Lola, do you have a question for me or Arden?
Yeah, I was just thinking about, with all the things you guys talk about, and particularly you, Jovan, with gender as a social construct, I really like the examples you use around love and friendship, and people can't define what love or friendship is to others. I was wondering if you've ever thought about parenthood as a social construct that's sort of similar to gender, because there's a biological aspect to parenthood, a legal aspect, and a social aspect to parenthood. So I guess I was curious on your thoughts, if you think that's like a good argument, a good way to explain it and help people wrap their head around all these different aspects of gender. And while there are objective truths to biological parenthood and biological sex, there's also social aspects of you can't define who a parent is for you. When does a step parent become a parent? There's a legal element of custody in parenthood. So I guess I just wanted to get your thoughts on that argument and that comparison of those two, both social, legal, and biological concepts.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad way to take it. Because like at the end of the day, what is a parent is probably a really hard question to answer.
Yeah.
It's really broad.
Right.
I've used that analogy a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And like, what is gender? Like, what is a woman? Like, yes, there's female aspects to womanhood, and there's every person every mammal or living thing that breeds sexually objectively has two biological parents. But are you going to tell someone that their step parent is their parent? How can you tell someone who their parents are or who their gender is?
And some people will. I mean, like, I think it was Marjorie Taylor Greene at one congressional hearing told, I think it was over opening schools during COVID. The head of whatever department that was, I'm pretty sure, a lesbian who had adopted her wife's children. And Marjorie Taylor Greene specifically said, like, you are not a mom, you are not a parent. So like, yeah, I think it's super analogous, at least in how like society treats it, because there's a lot of people who really only value the like biological reproductive element of it. And even though I think most of the time when people are talking about this, we are, like you're saying, talking about more of a social thing. Like my stepdad is definitely way more of a dad to me than my dad is, you know, like that is, yeah, a very real thing.
Yeah, I've heard people use it for like biological and adoptive parent can sort of also be an analogy for trans and cis, like both are parents, both are women. It's just two adjectives to describe the parent, and the woman or man. But I was just curious what your thoughts were on like taking the analogy even further. So I don't know if that was a very good question, but I thought of that and was curious your experience debating minds on how it might play if I use that analogy on friends and family who maybe
I think it's pretty good.
can't quite wrap their head around the gender and sex relationship and social constructs.
I think it's pretty good. I found friend, for me anyway, to be the one that like really nails them the most. Nails them. Pause. Resume. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad argument to make at all.
Cool. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. Thanks for all you do. I love listening to you both. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
All right, we're gonna keep going so we can try to get to as many office hours calls as we can before we start doing the other stuff. Hello, are you here for office hours?
Yes, I am. How you doing, Jovan?
Chilling.
Hello.
Can I just get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Skip, 40, he, they.
All right, thank you for calling back, Skip.
Yep, I'm gonna take you off my Bluetooth real quick.
No problem at all.
There we go.
All right, Skip, what was it you wanted to ask us about again?
Okay, so I'm currently in school right now, and on my side time, I'm looking into political theory and such, and I currently consider myself a left-wing technocrat. I would like to understand and technically have a conversation why technocracy can't be formed into a communist-style frame. Does that make sense?
If I understand technocrat, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it would kind of have to, right? It would Star Trek it, wouldn't it? Like we would get so advanced technology wise that we'd have no use for labor anymore.
That's technically the goal, where we aren't oppressed by the fact that we aren't able to work or we aren't able to get the goal done. I'm sorry if I'm shaky. I'm kind of nervous because I know I'm talking in front of people, but
no, don't worry.
I keep looking it up, and whenever people talk about technocracy, it seems like they keep adding on their own bias of what it is, and it always comes off as a right-wing authoritarian autocracy, whatever, like very oppressive. And I always go back to it and look it up, and I'm like, a society run by technical experts in their field. I don't understand how that's different from what we describe as meritocracy, or I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. Like, please tell me I'm wrong.
Government or control of society or industry by an elite of tech. I think the problem becomes the control of industry and the control. I think that becomes part of an issue, because it's not allowing the industry to still be owned by the proletariat at large. They're now being owned by this small elite group of people. I think what I think would really work on this is if you add a technological aspect to council communism, where you go, hey, these people are more advanced or understand the technology that we're using so much. We would obviously want them to be the heads of the councils that deal with this technology.
Yeah, that's like when I think about communism, I'm thinking about workers like voting in their managers. It's like, how is that not technocracy?
It seems like the difference between a technocracy is a technocracy you wouldn't have. Like, honestly, a technocracy, think about it now, like Trump has thrust to the head of the US government people who are like meta executives, AI executives. That's where I think that the issue becomes.
This is where, this is what the definition of an elite. For me, I don't consider an elite as someone who hoards things, such as money. Like, are they really an expert in their field, being a CEO? Really?
No, not usually.
Do they have a degree? Exactly. They're not an elite, in my opinion.
I think the problem is at least in the definition, it's using the word elite in that way. Or yeah, it's using the word elite as in like bureaucratic or economic elite. They're not using it in the like a merit-based definition.
Yeah, and that's the divide that I'm seeing, because for me in school for engineering, I'm like, I look up to the people who like put out these papers and study this. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that they're almighty and whatnot. I'm highly skeptical of it. I just got done with philosophy of science. Wonderful class. But it, like, I think it can, whenever it's run into like this is government state, it can be redefined from the bottom up in a communist style. And I've been thinking about it. Like, I saw a Reddit debate that talked about
It's really quick. You only got like 10 more minutes, Skips, or 10 more minutes, 10 more seconds, Skip. So,
autocracies are governments and isms are states. So, wouldn't it be a technism?
I don't know, actually.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem, Skip. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
I feel like that's why I don't fuck with labels super hard, because I don't know. I just don't know if I really care what box you can put a group of ideas in. I'd rather just evaluate the substance of the idea itself.
Honestly, if you want a really good example of a technocracy, watch Upload.
Oh,
Watch
okay.
the show
Yeah, the show you mentioned earlier.
Literally, the show Upload turns into the main characters trying to fight back against a technocracy.
Interesting.
Call line is open if you want to call in. Where's the number? It's right there on the top of the screen. Hello, are you calling for office hours?
Yes, sir.
All right, can I just get your name, age, and pronouns?
Yeah, Lord, 29, Egan.
What's up, Lord?
How's it going?
We chilling, bud. What did you want to ask about?
Well, I tried to come in and debate about capitalism and communism last time. I wanted to discuss, because I brought up my interest and passion for vocational rehabilitation. Where does that stand in a communist society?
Say the phrase again. For rehabilitate. Say it again.
Vocational rehabilitation. So, if you want me to kind of define it for you, I can.
Why is it job training and stuff like that?
In a sense, it is vocational rehabilitation. Part of it is job training, like occupational rehabilitation. But it is, in a sense, I'm not a counselor yet. I would help individuals find education or, through aptitude testing or other types of testing, find career interests. I help individuals who may be blind like me find assistive technology that's useful. I'd help them go through orientation and mobility training, so allowing them to be able to, function better in society. But those things are typically nonprofit, but they do require plenty of funding through those nonprofits. So I was just trying to figure out.
Oh, we would absolutely have that in a communist system. Yeah, we'd fund that 100%.
Okay. That was the big basis, like the big question I've been having in the last couple of days was.
Yeah, like, because you got to.
Where did that come from?
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Laura.
No, there wasn't much going there. I'd rather hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say a big thing to remember when it comes to communism is like educating people and getting people job training and stuff like that. Like that's super important, right? Like that's something that we want to make sure people have, because if they say like I'm tired of working on a farm, I'm like, oh, I want to do something else. We're like, okay, we'll come over here. We'll train you on something else and then go have fun.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I'd have to say, from our previous discussion, and I've been binging your debates and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you turned me into a communist. So.
W.
Right on.
How do you do a W?
And I'll head off after this. I would just, if you're interested in kind of the statistics behind it, I'd look into, there's a couple studies on the employment rates for individuals with who are visually impaired and blind, like myself, and how education, even with a master's degree, can barely jump the employment rate for those individuals up to 60%. And so that's where a lot of my, as a person who has that similar disability, it's just a fascinating facet of our society to see how much those type of people struggle.
Yeah. No, I get that.
But yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it, and I'm gonna keep listening in.
All right, Laura, you have a good rest of your day, bud.
You two guys. Well, not you two guys, but you guys as well. You guys know what I mean. God
I got
damn.
you. You guys is not transphobic, I promise. I know people panic about it all the time when they're talking to trans women. They're like, oh no, I said you guys, or dude.
I just don't want to be rude or anything.
No, you're good. You're good. Don't worry about it, man. You're fine.
Take care now.
You too. Right on.
We love office hours over here. Just give me 1 second, chat. Okay. Let's bring in the next person. Call line is wide open. Maybe I do just need to start using Call-in Studio. It's just so much. Hello, are you calling for office hours?
Yeah, just had a kind of a question / wanted to get your opinion on a response to something I heard in one of your debates recently.
Sure. Can I just get your name, age, and pronouns?
Sure. My name's Nathan. I'm 30, and he, him.
All right, Nathan, what was your question?
Yeah, so the other day you were debating somebody about abortion, and they brought up a thing about potential and like a lottery ticket, and I just kind of felt like it was a false equivalence because the real is I have a $50,000 lottery ticket or that's a winner now or a $100,000 potential lottery ticket. And I feel like that's a better sort of one for abortion where your 50,000 now is your actual living pregnant person versus your fetus.
Yeah, basically
potential.
Basically saying like, hey, if I had my lottery ticket in my hand and I just bought it and I was walking down the street and some guy is like, hey, I'll buy that lottery ticket off you for $50,000. You would sell it to him every time.
Exactly.
There's not a single human being that would not sell him that lottery ticket. And that's
exactly.
I think probably
I felt like that was
yeah.
kind of a good response to that is like when they're arguing potential, they're ignoring the physical real that's already here.
Yeah, something I didn't think about, but yeah, no, you're right. Like we're almost always going to value real over the potential. It's just the way humans work.
Yep.
That's why I like the if you have like a that's why I really like the like if you have a 6-month-old baby in a burning building and 10,000 fertilized embryos, like which one are you going to save? Obviously the actual living baby, even though if you really think that's life, saving 10,000 lives would be way more valuable than one. But everyone like instinctively chooses the baby.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to throw that out there as another way to kind of shoot back at that and be like, well, so you're telling me you'd give up the $50,000 ticket for the 100,000 potential? Like I wouldn't.
Same. I would absolutely sell a lottery ticket for 50,000. And it's even goes more analogous to pregnancy because then they'll probably be like, but then can't you just go buy another lottery ticket? I'm like, exactly. You just go get pregnant.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
sell that baby for 50,000. Pause.
No real questions.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Nathan. You have a good rest of your day, friend.
You as well.
I like when you guys reference previous things in the office hours because then if I decide to keep this video and post it, I can go and post a clip from that previous.
Yep.
Hello, are you calling for office hours?
Yes, I am.
All right. Can I just get your name, age, and pronouns?
My name is Ashley. I'm 42, and she, her.
Okay, Ashley, what questions did you have for us today?
So you convinced me quite a bit about communism. One thing I was wondering about was without like a state government, how do we protect minority groups like trans people or something else like that?
Mhm. Well, one of the big things to remember is that the reason why these groups are targeted is a sort of enemy of us mentality, and that's used for capitalists to maintain power. So, like, and an example of this, speaking from my own experience, is the reason why Black people were slaves was so capitalists could earn a lot more money using cheap labor. So the big crux of it is that when we achieve class consciousness, uh, the other consciousnesses kind of have to fall in line because you don't really have right. Half the reason why people are bigots is because they're poor. The other half is because they want to maintain wealth.
Mhm.
Right, at least in my opinion. But it's also a thing that we can look at where it's like, hey, maybe we can't achieve class consciousness till we first achieve, uh, solidarity between trans and cis people, or maybe we can't do it until we can't get class liberation until we have Black liberation or queer liberation.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I wasn't sure if there would be like a group of MAGA that suddenly developed class consciousness but kept all their other ideas, but that seems like it would be kind of unlikely the other ideas would probably fall away if they understood enough to
At least unless we don't, we might need to abolish religion, but
I mean, I'm fine with that too.
Was there anything else that you want to talk about? You got 3 more minutes.
Nope. I just want to say I'm a great admirer of both of you, and thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Ashley. You have a good rest of your day, friend.
You too. Bye.
Ooh, I like office hours. This is fun. I should do this more often and not forget.
No, it's good. I think I really find debate compelling, and so I love debate and I like to participate in debate, but I do think something that in the debate sphere we miss out on is preaching to our choir a little bit more, because the right almost exclusively preaches to the choir and it's clearly benefited them massively. And so I think we kind of have like an aversion to being accused of being in an echo chamber. And I'm like, the last like 10 years have shown us that being in an echo chamber is a massive win, like victory. And like we get out of our echo chamber regularly doing debates, but like I think it's good to come back in and be like, no, let's talk to our people now.
Yeah. Just a reminder for people calling in, I don't have call waiting. So if I'm on the call and you try to call in, it's not going to go through.
Mhm.
Hello, are you here for office hours?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can we get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
My name is Miggy, Miggy. My age is 39, and he's a.
Okay, Maggie, what are you calling to ask about today?
Sorry, it's Miggy, Miggy.
Miggy. Oh.
Oh.
Miggy, my bad. I
That's
used to
okay,
get called.
that's
I used to
all
get called a word very similar to Miggy when I was young.
Oh, cool.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was like waiting for that. You delivered.
Okay, Mickey, go ahead. What was your question? Sorry.
Sorry. No, it's exciting to talk to you guys. I'm really excited. So I am talking to Jovan and Arden, right?
Yep.
Sorry, I turned off the stream. Okay.
Yep.
I had a question. I wanted y'all's take on the. So with the trans issue, I always hear everybody's position on how detrimental it is to the physical effects on a young person's physical development, and it made me think about like the forcing of like youth into athletics and the physical detriment that that has on young people with like concussions and torn ACLs and like how that develops over time. I wanted y'all's take on like the equivocation of that. Is that like an accurate equivocation? Like, because I don't ever hear anybody bringing that up as like as a point.
Well, it gets brought up on Takis. Luxander actually has brought it up a lot with regard to like dance, for example. Like kids who are in dance will often have like spinal problems from some of the moves that they're required to do in dance, and those will be lifelong complications they have to work with. It's definitely not an equivocation. If they're complaining that their contention with gender affirming care are the lifelong effects, then if they actually care about lifelong effects and they're going to be consistent with that, they should care about these other things as well, but they don't. They only care about lifelong effects that come from gender affirming care. So clearly what they actually care about
Right.
isn't the life-changing effects. It is the gender affirming care element, or there's some other element to gender affirming care that is what they actually care about. It is just a line that they've been told and that they're working on. But yeah, it's definitely not something that you like consistently that almost any of these people consistently ideologically hold. I'm sure there are some though who are genuinely are like, I'm opposed to things that, you know, have unnatural lifelong effects on the body, but you know, I don't think that accounts for any meaningful portion of anti-trans people.
Okay. All right. What would you say would be like a good way to like even present this point or this as like a counter argument?
I mean, I think do it kind of like we were just saying, use it as a test of their consistency. Because, like, if I do that and I
Right.
find out this person is someone who genuinely cares about those kinds of things, I'm going to be like, okay, I don't share that value with you, but at least you're being consistent and that's something you care about. In which case, I don't really have much to debate you with. We just disagree on this value fundamentally. But if they show that that isn't their value and that they are inconsistent with it, well, now you've tapped into something. Like now you've kind of exposed, hopefully, something that they're not likely to change over the course of this conversation with them, right? This is going to be something you're planting in their brain that they're going to sit on for a while of like, oh, wow, I've been saying that, but that's not actually a value that I really hold consistently. So what is it that I'm upset about? And it causes them to kind of dig deeper.
Yeah. Cool. That's kind of where I was thinking too, as far as like how consistent they are with their stance on the whole protection of the physical development of a young person. Like, or is it just that they are being transphobic or, you know, just not wanting the whole trans issue or things. So and that I've been a teacher for 12 years at a very heavy athletic school where, you know, I've had students with all kinds of injuries and, you know, suffering for days because of concussions, which has affected their academics and things like that. And then they're out of school because they're going through all kinds of surgeries and things like that, which then affects their attendance in schools and their academics. So I feel like athleticism and the forcing of students to be the best athlete that they can be from such a young age really has more of a detriment than, you know, even the trans issue.
100%.
Trans is not an issue, of course. I love all my trans students and my trans friends.
Yeah, I know we're probably at the time limit for you, but I think you can extend
sorry.
this. No, you're fine. You're fine. You can extend this to a bunch of other domains too. When they start talking about women in sports, like what issues are actually affecting women in sports? Is this a real value you hold? Because if so, trans people are going to be like priority number 427, right? There's a lot of things that are way more pressing on female athletes than trans athletes. Same goes for protecting women and girls from like sexual abuse, right? We know what the rates and risk factors are relating to sexual abuse for cis women, and it's not to do with trans people. This has to do with people in positions of power over them, church leaders, community leaders, family friends, extended family, things like this. Like, I think it's good to test someone's consistency when they're claiming to you that their opposition to something is rooted in some stated value. And that we did that, I think, today a number of times with that first anti-trans caller.
Yeah, Miggy, that is that's time, friend. So if you I do office hours once a week. So if you ever want to call in, I'll let you guys know next week when next week office hours are, okay?
Awesome. Thank you all for your time. Huge fan of the line, huge fan of you, Jovan. And you guys have a great day.
Thanks.
You too. We got time for like a couple more, and then when it hits 10 minutes to 2, we're gonna do the giveaway. Hello, are you here for office hours?
Yes, I am.
Okay, can I just get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
I just go by Pillow, 19, and he, him.
Pillow, you're in the Discord, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it sounded familiar. All right, Pillow, what was your question?
I just had a question because I've watched a lot of your videos. I just had a question about abolish police and prisons. I agree. I just was wondering what would you do with like in that situation? What would be done with like pedophiles, rapists, or like child molesters, rapists?
Long-term care or long-term rehabilitation facilities, depending on which they need. If there's somebody without mental health issues that are leading to them or that are leading them to do the offenses, then it'd be like a long-term rehabilitation facility. Because it may be some societal thing that's causing them to do what they do or whatever. And then if it's something where they have a need or like a compulsive need to engage in this, it would be a long-term care facility because they are a danger to themselves and society.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
awesome.
just
Thank you.
one of the things that I really quickly just to say, one of the things that I think is really important in rehabilitative care is we have to bring the victims in. So I do believe that maybe not that it should, but we should offer the victims a chance when it comes to, like, let's say somebody's been in a long-term rehabilitative facility and we're like, okay, it seems that this person has been rehabilitated from these actions or thoughts or harms or whatever. We should probably say, okay, the victims now have to make a determination about whether they feel safe with this person coming back into this specific society, or maybe it's that we have to let them into another. Who knows? It's just like I do think the victim should be involved in some way, shape, or form.
That makes perfect sense. That's actually like a great idea. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, you still got 3 minutes.
Okay, cool. I was just wondering, like, you kind of turned me into a communist, and I was wondering, what would be the arguments? Like, I'm still really new to learning, so what would be the arguments for like communism or council communism over like socialism, just like classical socialism, I guess?
Well, because classical socialism is just going to inherently always lead to communism if it goes unchallenged, right? Because socialism is basically an easy way to describe it as communism with a state. The thing about socialism is that once there is no class distinction, you're going to have no need for a state at all. And the state is just going to the hope is that the state will naturally dissolve and you're just going to get to communism anyway. So like whenever I have these debates, people are like, well, why not just go socialism? Like, because if we have socialism the way I want to have socialism, we're just going to have communism anyway. Like, so let's just to go to the next step and talk about that.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was thinking about this just because I have family members who are socialists but not communists, but I didn't think about that before.
Yeah, just ask them what the end goal of their socialism is. If the end goal is to keep a state, you're just going to naturally, if it's to keep a state, you risk just reinventing capitalism by somebody who takes state control and state power. So,
yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Anything else, Philip?
Thank you. No, I just want to say thank you so much. I love your content and Arden's content. I watch The Line, and I just wanted to say thank you for doing the content you do.
Thanks,
Philip. For sure. Calling in.
Yep. Bye.
This is a good office hours. Oh, my neck. What, like 2 more calls probably, I think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Call line is open. Hello, are you here for office hours?
I am.
All right, can I just get your name, age, pronouns, please?
Jeff 50. Hingham.
All right, Jeff.
Hey, Arden.
Hey.
Jeff, what question do you have for us today?
It's actually a concept that's been rattling around in my brain for a long time. Do you know how anyone can go to marryyourfriends.com and get a license to marry people?
Yeah, I'm licensed to marry people.
Why are doctors not using the bitters story in the Bible to go and get a license to do abortions? Like in the same way that anyone can go and get a license to.
Me personally, I've always thought the bitters water story was not a really great abortion analogy. I just feel like it's more like, here's this magical water that if you're pregnant and you cheated on me, then we'll get rid of that baby.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it definitely show. I think there are better ways to show that God condones ripping fetuses from the womb than that one.
I also don't completely love us using their framework just because they might have some marginal success. Oh, go
I
ahead.
think Jeff is saying because we have to respect religion, right? You could say, well, it's of my religion that I have to give this bitter water. But I doubt that would hold up.
In that case, I think the Satanist approach is far more effective, where they have just said, I think there's even some Jewish sects that kind of fall into this, where access to abortion is considered like a part of their religious tradition. And so having access to those treatments should be legally protected. But yeah.
Yes. All right. And Carden, please tell the guy about An Honest Liar. That movie just rocks, and I think I've mentioned it to you a couple times. But man, that is like probably one of the best documentaries I've seen in a long ass time. And Jovan, you got to check it out.
An Honest Liar. Oh, is this like a James Randi thing?
Honest Liar Upload right now.
How's that?
I said I'm busy watching Upload right now. Is it as good as Upload?
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Oh, it's about James Randi. I love James Randi. Yeah, I'd be definitely interested to see that.
I think you've heard about this.
Yeah, it's really good, man. Really good. But, all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the show. Love you guys.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wait, I think I've watched this. I might not have watched this, but I've watched a lot of James Randi dunking on psychics.
Yeah,
right, we have time for one more call, and then we're gonna wrap. Me and Arden are gonna do a wrap up and do the giveaway. Hello, are you here to debate? Or debate? Jesus Christ! Are you here for office hours? Yeah. Sorry, I just defaulted. Like I heard the ringing and it just defaulted. Can I just get your name, age, and pronouns, please?
Yeah, my name is Cassie. I'm 21, and my pronouns are she, her, and they, them.
All right, Cassie, 21, she, her, and they, them. Cassie, what question did you have for us today?
Yeah, so I would like to know, like, if a good sort of, or like ways to go about, I guess, a reversal in a, like, what is a woman debate would be to, like, say, oh, what is a man, reverse that onto the, like, bigot in this case, and try and, like, I guess, not necessarily point out, but slide the bar to different ranges and have them have to describe something that clearly they would not be showing as a man.
You mean to just take the pressure off trans women for a bit?
Yeah, take the pressure off women, just in general, trans women, cis women, whatever, and just kind of like, if they're trying to define something that's not them, start with them defining something that is them.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, they're just gonna hit you back with adult human male.
Yeah.
But like, I get the point to get the. I get it. Trans women are getting the brunt of it, and that's because of trans misogyny and a whole litany of other things. So I do understand the point. To like, it's not a bad idea to like start focusing the calls a little bit more on trans men. So yeah, it's not a bad idea at all.
Would it be useful to be like, oh, well, so if being a man is this, and then this, like this right-wing grifter says, oh, this is what it is to be a man, but then this other person that would be described as like a better man does it, then like just sort of make this web in this whole interpretation.
From a term of like when they talk, you're kind of talking like red pill-ish, right? Like when they're like, oh, in order to be a man, you have to provide, you have to be a protector, and you have to like kind of like that.
Yeah, and like I feel like that would just be a good sort of web or example, just to be like, oh, well, here's like, if you say these things are what a man is, and if you follow like certain beliefs like this, and then clearly here's like 1,000,001 contradictions, then like how, what would you have to then concede like women as? If you can hardly define man, then why do you have any notion in defining what a woman is?
I mean, I think a lot of them would probably say that you know, that they do think there's an element of gender that is socially constructed and things like that, and those roles are good for like society or something, or like they'd probably use some like coded fucking white nationalist language like Western civilization or some bullshit, but that they think that fundamentally the question of what is a man is a biological one or something like that. That's usually my experience of kind of how those things go. Yeah.
I also think the thing you're going to run into is they're just going to say, well, there's a difference between being a man and masculinity, right? They're going to
Mhm.
claim that like, well, this is more like masculine traits, not about. I think they will always default to adult human male, but I do think there is something to be said about manhood and how they can't even adhere to their own steadfast thing of manhood, because they'll do it all the time. They'll come into my chat and be like, "We were in cat ears, be a man," and I'm like, "Oh, so I don't have to be an adult human male? Just don't wear cat ears, and that makes you a man." Essentially, it's a good argument if the person you're talking to is in bad faith and can recognize that, like, when we say to be a man, you must be X, Y, and Z, that is putting a societal expectation on a gender category of how a gender category must behave to fit into that category.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fair. I can see that. Yeah, and then I just want to say as well, love the stream today. It was awesome, and like you got to do office hours more. It's been like a couple weeks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Every
Listen,
time I go, I'm gonna do office hours, I get really tired.
also the
you
money
should,
is
like,
unfortunately, for
set
better
an
or
alarm.
worse, in the debates, you know.
What you should do, one thing that would really help with like getting motivation. I know you're very like food motivated. Is just, hey, order pizza, do office hours.
Oh yeah, but
And
sometimes
then
I
when
just need
pizza arrives,
sometimes
like
I just
office
need
hours is done,
pizza.
something like that.
I just need pizza. I just need food for food. I could do a thing where it's like whenever we hit the t-shirt giveaway goal, I also do office hours that stream. I always do it like that.
That'd be a good idea, yeah.
And that just gives more incentive for the goals.
Yep.
I'll ask chat how they feel about that. But thank you so much for calling in, Cassie. You have a great rest of your day, okay?
You too as well. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Arden.
Cassie.
All right, good office hours today, guys. Good office hours. Give yourselves a high five. All right.
Let's go team.
Arden, it's been so fun having you on stream today.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Give away a t-shirt. We have to give away a t-shirt.
Let's do it. Give away that t-shirt.
So typically to enter the giveaways, they have to type a specific command. I'm gonna let you choose the command for the day, for the giveaway today.
Ooh.
It'll be exclamation point and then a one word after. What do you think? What would you like the giveaway command to be today?
Command slurs. Can we do command
Exclamation
slurs?
point slurs?
Just the word slurs.
Oh, well, they'll always have to put an exclamation point to do the command.
It's so
But
funny.
slurs is crazy.
Listen, I
Let's
love
do
my slurs. I don't know what you want me to say.
Let's do it. You guys gotta wait. There is nothing entering right now. Remember, if you are subscribed, you do get 2 entries into the giveaway. So if you're subscribed, you get 2 entries. If you're not subscribed, you get 1 entry. I'm gonna give you guys 3 minutes for any last minute subscriptions. Well, I'm not typing that. You can't type the word slurs, K-Space. It's not
I
you're
literally,
saying.
I almost wanted to make it the word I'm thinking, but I was like, okay, that's not good. That's not good for your stream.
I might take it too far. If you're subbed, you can say slur twice.
Don't say the slurs. Say the word slurs. Oh my god.
Okay.
Listen, we gotta have a little bit of fun here.
We're gonna start the giveaway. Exclamation point, slurs, all caps.
There's some people in my chat doing it. We don't have that in my chat. Go to Jovan's chat. Let me put the.
You got a 10-minute. They got a 10-minute.
Yeah.
If they're not already following me, they have a 10-minute wait period before they can type.
I pinned that message in. Ooh, yeah. Okay. Well then. Well, a lot of them are probably already subscribed. They're just watching here. So
hopefully,
yeah. If you are already following Jovan, go to the link that I just pinned on the top of the chat, and then you can go participate in that chat there.
You got 4.5 minutes.
I got command canceled from Brent in chat. Listen, You can't. I'm talking about slurs that I'm allowed to say, okay? I just tend not to say them on the internet because I don't want people to get upset. But if you think I'm not using my own slurs,
I'm allowed to say the slurs, but I don't trust that the AI, like the slurs about my people. Every like terms of service says that I am totally allowed to say those words, but I just worry that I will get caught by the AI and then I'll feel even worse if they're like, well, you're black, but we don't think you're black enough to say that.
I was like, wait, if I get nabbed for using the T slur, can I be like, oh my God, so fish. The algorithm thinks I'm cis.
It's so funny. K-Space isn't entering. They refuse to type exclamation point slurs.
Listen, that's your loss. Okay, you don't want to have fun. You don't want to laugh at the words people develop to dehumanize us and then just undermining them completely. That's your, your obligation.
I have said the N-word in YouTube videos before. You could find them. It's in there. The word slips out sometimes. I said it for fucking 25 years of my life, 30 years of my life. How old am I? 32?
I use
said the word a lot.
my slurs all the time off stream. I just don't usually when I'm live. But I talk about the fact that I say it all the time. You guys know. I canceled my slur. Oh, okay, that's fair. Use slurs, Art and Heart 2025. True. Use slurs that it is socially accepted that you can use,
Do I not say it anymore? I say it all the time when I'm like in my regular life. Yeah, I say the word. I say it all the time. I drop the N-word all the time. It just feels right, 100 entries so far, 200 people in chat.
Damn.
I guess half of you don't want a free t-shirt.
Very sad. Get in there. Get on that.
Get in on that.
Get in on that. Yeah, that's right. I'm
that.
from Texas.
You need to get in on this here giveaway.
Flying Leash says I use the F slur daily. I do too. Honestly, that's one of my favorites. Like, listen, I was called that like every day in high school, so I definitely get to use that one, even though people think I'm straight now. Which
I was called it in high school sometimes. Did you use it?
I mean, I think.
Kidding.
Listen, when you're in the privacy of my company, I give all of my friends.
No, I'm not falling for that. I do that same trick. I do that
Oh,
same
come on.
trick. You're not catching me with that one.
It's
I will
fun.
say, I one time, I might get canceled for this, but I didn't get canceled at the time. I one time accidentally dropped the R slur on stream because I was so mad at somebody. It just slipped out and I just couldn't catch it in time. I was very apologetic. I didn't mean for it to come out, but it just came out.
I will say that is one word that I've had to work really hard to get out of my vocabulary, and the impulse is still very present, but I'm pretty good. I don't think I've ever said it live ever before, but I
mean, if you were raised in the 90s, early 2000s, that word was everywhere.
Yeah, it's still everywhere. When I go home around my family, they use it all the time, like all the people I'm around, and like I have a hard time criticizing them because I'm like, maybe that's not the best word you could use to describe this thing. It's kind of usually how I go because I'm like, I get it. I've definitely been guilty of using that one too, but yeah.
What if you say it ironically? I can't say it ironically. Listen, I know I'm autistic, but I just don't feel like I don't feel like I have the space to say that ironically.
Mm-hmm.
What's my favorite Simpsons? Graggle Simpson.
I haven't really.
All right.
Oh, we're ready?
Entries are closed. Entries are closed. Everybody stop what you're doing. We're going to choose the winner. Now, the winner has 5 minutes to tell me that they want their prize. And then you must go, or you know what? I'll just show them to you. The winner has to choose from any t-shirt in my merch shop. That's jovanbradley.com. You can choose from any t-shirt. And then what you'll do is you will tell me that's the shirt you want, and I'll send you a whisper on Twitch with the shirt. These are... Hello? Oh, hold on. These are... Hello? Oh, hello? Why isn't that showing up right now? Wait, I'm so confused. What is happening right now? Okay, just go to my website and find the shirt. Anyway, choosing the winner. The winner is Lot of Sauce.
Oh,
A
that's a good
lot of
name.
sauce. You want a prize over here.
That's a really good name.
A lot of sauce is pretty good. I can't even lie.
Thanks, a lot of
A lot
sauce.
of sauce. You got 5 minutes to tell us that you're here and that you want your prize. Oh, they said A, so I'm going to assume they want their prize.
A lot of sauce. Oh, it is. It's full on sauce. Sauce.
Yeah. It's a lot of sauce.
A lot of sauce.
All right, a lot of sauce. You got to tell me what one of the shirts in my merch store you want today. Hey, it's a lot of sauce. Whatever shirt you want is yours, friend. Unless it's an ugly one, but I don't sell ugly shirts, so.
He says, "Where's the link?" A lot of sauce. A lot of sauce. Are you in? Are you in New England? Because listen, I spent a lot of my time in Rhode Island, in Boston, and
Boston.
Oh my God, when you're around people who call a milkshake a cabinet, you know you spent too much time in New England.
A milkshake, a what?
A cabinet. It's a weird thing. It's a weird little New Englandism.
Fucking what?
Or Thunderboomus. That's another good one.
They're calling milkshakes cabinets?
Cabinet, yeah.
The fuck is that? Oh, here's the shirts. A lot of sauce. The Black Liberate one is cool. Okay, you got it. This one right here. Black Liberate tee is yours. A lot of sauce. Let me get that for you right now.
I hope there's like one Rhode Islander in your chat who's gonna feel so seen by cabinet. That's my hope. Boston? Somebody said, can you say it again? That's not how I say Boston. I was in northern Vermont, so I speak normal. But
I speak normal.
I spend a lot of time around yes. Problematic queen. Spent a lot of time around a lot of Southern New Englanders with thick accents. I love them all dearly. Subs,
All right,
grinders, true.
Here's your link to your free t-shirt. Go ahead and claim that shirt. Guys, you get to choose the size. It'll let you choose the size and everything. We do giveaways so often here. We've given away so many t-shirts in the last month because of viewers like you. Remember, next time we're live, if I'm live, you can go to my merch store, jovanbradley.com, and you see this gift to Twitch chat. You guys can do a giveaway yourself in the middle of a debate. If you're like, oh, I want to give something away, go nuts. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Congratulations, a lot of sauce for winning. Thank you for being here, Arden. It was super fun. I love debating, and it was fun debating with you again, friend.
Yeah, it's always a good time. Thanks for having me back and hanging out. It was a good time. I appreciate your audience and all these peeps.
All right. Before I leave, I do just want to say, sick. I just want to say, the giveaways are not only for Americans. Fourth Wall ships internationally. So,
right on.
Thank you guys for watching. You guys have a blessed rest of your day, but not blessed from the Lord, blessed from the spaghetti monster.